Folks, we're back. This is Steve Sanson, Frank Friends, Jim Jonas, T. Matthew Phillips, Gianna Amato, Robert Foss, and Dr. Robert Madoff. With Veterans in Politics today, we're going to have a live stream roundtable. We're going to discuss the civil and criminal bench for the 8th Judicial District Court. Last week, we did the family court. We did the Las Vegas Justice of the Peace for Henderson and North Las Vegas. For Las Vegas and North Las Vegas. We did the appellate and we did the Supreme. So we're going to do the rest of the judicial bench. And the first person is up is Frank Friends. And we're going to discuss Clark County District Court, Department Number 1, Jacob Villani, and Beta Marie Yeager.
Yep, I got him. So Jacob didn't fill out a ballotopia. Of course, all of them seem to forget that that's kind of important. So we found some other things on him about votesmartnv.org. He's been a criminal prosecutor in Clark County, Nevada's District Attorney Office for his entire legal career. Some voters may not know this, but most participating attorneys spend very little time in courtrooms and in front of judges, even less doing jury trials. This isn't true for prosecutors like him, he says. He says he spends a lot of time in front of that. Most of his days are spent in court and, arguing cases, things like that. But when asked about important cases and where he might stand on certain specific things, he declined to answer a lot of the following questions, which was kind of weird to me. He wouldn't answer Roe v. Wade and whether it was constitutional or not, and how it was decided. He wouldn't answer Brown versus Board of Education 347 U.S. 483. He wouldn't answer Newman versus Peggy Park Enterprise 390 U.S. 400. And how the application of it would basically work for the LGBTQ community and people in places and public accommodations for them. When asked in recent years, has he seen Immigration's Customs Enforcement detain individuals or leaving criminal court hearings? Please describe your views on this practice. Wouldn't answer that. Asked about, in light of Nevada's moving to legalize marijuana, what's your position on it? He wouldn't answer that. Does he like or not like cash bail and what it would do to Nevada? He didn't want to answer any of that. But he did answer one question, which was kind of weird to me, that if in a courtroom and somebody wanted to be called a sex that they were not born as, so basically, if you're a male and you think you're a woman, and if you're a woman and you think you're a man, he had no problem.
Transgender.
Or a third, arguably.
Well, if you want to go unisex or people that are like that, you're talking about 0.001% of the human population. So, but he was more than willing to answer that he would absolutely call them by the sex that they prefer to be called, not the sex that they actually are. So, little weird to me on that. And right now he's currently involved in a case, the state versus Wendell Milton, C329648. This case is a father murdering his son because he found out his son was gay. So he'll answer the transgender thing, but he won't answer the other LGBT stuff. He won't answer cash bail, and he won't answer Brown versus Board of Education or Roe v. Wade, but he'll answer whether somebody can claim to be something that they can't possibly be. That's pretty much what I could get on him. Then we have Beta Yeager. I think I'm pronouncing that right. She's a former District 6 judge in Las Vegas Township Court. She lost re-election campaign in the general election November 8th, 2016. She believes it's beneficial to have government experience prior to becoming a judge. And she is endorsed by everybody and their mom. Nevada State, Recovery PAC, firefighters, Southern Nevada Central Labor Council, Veterans for Responsible Government, Nevada Veterans Association, Smart Local 88, all the trade unions I can see, carpentry, the Review Journal, the Culinary Union, Bartenders Union, this union, that union. So that's a little concerning to me. She got 3 campaign messages on her Ballotopia because she actually filled it out. So this will give you a little more insight into her. She's a community-minded problem solver, and her track record states that she shows that, and she'll go the extra mile to make improvements in the justice system. She's been on several statewide committees dedicated to improving the court system and continues to work hard for the benefit of the community. She says that she is the only candidate in the race with judicial experience in civil and criminal law, which are the types of cases that the district court judge would make decisions about. So she has experience on both sides of that. She brings experience in mental health, substance use disorders, things like that to the bench, which is in her opinion, a valuable asset, especially in criminal cases. She teaches first responders about mental health and how to approach those things on a statewide committee into the court system for health crisis. How she would describe her legal philosophy is of judicial restraint, meaning I follow the law. I leave the creation of law or policies up to other branches, to the other 2 branches is what she's talking about. She sees her role as being knowledgeable about the law and the case law for each case that comes before her, and she makes sure that all the litigants are treated fairly, courteously, and come to a decision based upon facts and laws, not feelings. So those are the things I have about those 2 for that seat. The Jacob thing kind of discourages me, that he wants to keep everything about himself in the dark. He didn't fill out a Ballotopia. And the fact that he would willingly and knowingly let somebody commit perjury in a courtroom by saying that you are something you cannot possibly be. It's a little disturbing, because if you're willing to bend a law that's that straightforward, like you cannot lie up there at all. It doesn't matter what you think. It matters what is, only what the facts of the case are. And he said he's willing to let somebody lie, and he would also address the person in the courtroom as the lie. So he would then, I don't know what you would call a judge committing perjury. It would still be perjury.
Yes.
It'd still be perjury. Yeah. So he's telling you that he's willing to commit perjury on the bench to socially justice and signal to another person that I'll let you identify as you choose, not what the stated facts are. So I couldn't really vote for him in that way. Beta seems to be pretty decent with all of her accomplishments and things like that. I just don't like the entire thing of all the unions backing her, because like, who does she owe a favor to? You know what I'm saying? Things like that. But when she stated that she's willing to follow the law and not make law from the bench, that gives me, some better feeling to give her my recommendation over him. So that's what I would go. I would go with her, Beta Yeager, over Jacob. Anybody else?
All right, so Jacob Villani, I don't know. The only thing I know about Jacob Villani is because the last name Villani is with Michael Villani, who now sits on the bench. So that's probably a plus for him, because if Mike put out his signs, they both have the same name. So Beta Yeager, I remember I went to her judicial selection committee hearing for the Justice of the Peace seat, and the selection committee gave 3 names and to the county commissioner, and one of the names was Beta Yeager and Amy Cellini, and there was another a county commissioner's son. I forget his name escapes me. And when there was a big hoo-yah in there, and one of the commissioners, I believe it was Lawrence Weekly, he made a comment and he said we had to remove this candidate from consideration because it's the son of one of the county commissioners, right? So kind of biased his way out, and that's why they didn't vote for him. And they didn't vote for Amy Cellini, who's now a judge. They didn't vote for Amy Cellini because she had a lot of references, because everybody in the community was sending letters for Amy Cellini to win. And the only reason why they gave it to B. Yeager is because of those two incidents. And that was sad. Anyways, B. Yeager became appointed to the Justice Court bench. And while she was on the bench, she did something that was inappropriate as far as TPOs are concerned. And Veterans in Politics called her on it in one of the shows. And we hope that took care of it. She recused herself from the case because of that particular situation. And when she was running for judge for justice of the peace, she was voted out. The voters said no more. So they removed her from the bench. And now she's looking to run for the district court seat. So basically, that's all I know about those particular candidates. But one thing that came to mind is when you were reading off her endorsements, and one of the endorsements you said was Nevada Veterans Association. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. You see, Nevada Veterans Association is owned by Jim Jonas, Steve Sanson. That's who owns Nevada Veterans Association.
And there's no way you guys endorsed her.
Not only do we own the Nevada Veterans Association name, we also owned the Nevada Veterans Association logo, which is also trademarked at the Nevada Secretary of State. Not only did we do that, 2 months ago, I believe it was, we put out a public cease and desist. That means if we never gave you the endorsement, you need to take it off your website, campaign materials, and a lot of people fail to do that. Okay, why do you keep it up there, Bigger Yeager? You know we own the name. Why do you still have it? So why didn't you take it down? So apparently, that's all I have on her. And that's what I'm going to say about that.
Well, I got a quick question for you. So she actually recused herself from a case when she was proven that she needed to, correct? Because you said something about
I don't know
TPO.
I don't know why judges actually recuse themselves.
But she actually did.
What's the real reason why? Maybe she didn't want any more pressure. Maybe it was bad press for her. Maybe it wasn't worth getting into.
Yeah, I get that. But I mean, she actually did it instead of the judges we've seen. Like, no, I'm not going to recuse my case.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at least she's got that going for her, that she's willing to give up the power of the bench during a case when she knows she's wrong. And like I said, the other guy, he's willing to commit perjury on the bench. I can't do it.
So I don't know anything about either one of these candidates, but I do know that it shows a pattern of what people will do to get a judicial seat in this county. And what I think is you probably need to put a cap on judgeships, on how much they can spend for election. How much can a judgeship really be worth? If you're not corrupt and you're just working for the payroll and you're working for the good of the people, which is what you should be there for, I don't have that much of a problem with the male judge not wanting to be as forthcoming as people would like him to be, because I respect people's privacy. And if you're doing a good job on the bench and you have a good record, that should be enough to stand for. But it seems that both of these people are corrupt, and so I don't know how you could vote for either one of them.
Very valid viewpoint.
Jim.
Hey, Steve, I do apologize. I had to step away there for a second. Is Michael actually is he related to
Oh, I don't know.
Judge Bellani?
I can answer that. He's not.
He's not. Okay. Yeah, I was kind of curious about that. Okay, so he's not. All right.
Matthew?
I'm good.
Giano? Madoff? So let's take a vote. Jacob Villani? Peter Yeager. Peter Yeager. Okay, moving right along. So B.D. Yeager is recommended by the Veterans in Politics. I think you said enough, man. We already passed that.
I would like them
Department
to
one.
come out for actual endorsement so we can ask them deeper questions.
Oh, they're not going to come out. And that's just it. They don't want to be asked deeper questions on camera. Are you kidding me? They'd rather do a questionnaire and mail it back to you.
Be a little more transparent.
Let their campaign manager fill it out. They don't even fill it out, half of them. I don't even know why they got questionnaires. There's not enough integrity in that. But moving right along, Clark County District Court Department 2, we have Carly Lynn Kearney, and we have Richard Frank Scotty. You got this one too as well.
Yeah, isn't
And just
Adam?
and just for clarification, the Veterans in Politics has already endorsed Richard Scotty. He's not recommended. He is endorsed. That means he showed up to the date of the interview, and the panel members interviewed him and decided to endorse him. So
Yeah, I remember that a while back. So Carrie, professional experience includes public defender in Champaign County, Illinois, and Clark County, Nevada. No ballotopia, no survey, no endorsement, no anything to find on her outside of that she nearly beat out Scotty and Marciello in June 9, 2020 primaries. She had 39.7% of the votes. Scotty had 32. There's nothing to find on her. No ballotopia, no who she's endorsed by, no where her money's coming from, no where she stands, no turnover rate on her cases, none of that. Scotty is a judge for Department 2, Nevada 8th District. His current term ends January 3rd, 2021. He's running for re-election. Prior to joining the court, Scotty practiced in the field of litigation, construction, business, prosecution, administrative law. He was an administrative law judge, counsel for the Nevada Contractors Board. He also wrote and edited the Ask a Lawyer column in the Las Vegas Review-Journal. He's been practicing law since 1988, but no ballotopia, no endorsements out of the one you just told everybody we gave him. It didn't give me much information on him outside of those key.
did you go to his
aspects.
website?
We went to a couple things to see what we could find quickly.
Because he has endorsements on his website.
I couldn't find them, but I know you said we endorsed them.
Jim?
Well, I think you already know where I'm going to come down on this one. I've known Richard Scotty for since about 2008. And here's the thing that stands out about Richard Scotty. When I first met Judge Richard Scotty now, here's the thing that really sets him apart, in my opinion, from a lot of people, is that we met through political circles. And anytime I talk to him, even on a personal level, and I ask him anything to do with politics whatsoever, he tells me, he goes, "Well, Jim, I appreciate that. I'm a judge now. Politics doesn't matter anymore." That just speaks to his character, in my opinion. So I support Richard Scotty. Not only do I think he's an exceptional judge, but he's a personal friend of mine.
I didn't put my 2 cents in yet. But go ahead, Matthew.
I'm passing on this one here.
Go ahead, Gianno.
I want to hear your 2 cents worth.
Sure. So, Carly Lynn Kearney, don't know anything on her except the fact that she was deliberately put in the race to get Richard Scotty out of that seat because there's some people in the political arena does not like Richard Scotty. I have known Richard Scotty since probably around 2007, 2008, and we sat on the executive board together, and there was things that we didn't agree with, and Richard, he was composed, calm, and in a lot of these executive board meetings, it can get hostile. Okay, and Richard Scotty was the was it CFO or no? He was the chairman of the executive board, and he remained composed, He was solution focused, and he just didn't want to make unnecessary waves. That would be a good way of putting it, right? Because Jim Jonas sat on the board with me and Richard Scotti at the same time. Richard Scotti is an extremely decent guy. I mean, some people take the bench with humble beginnings, and then while they're on the bench, they turn into Satan himself. They get black robe syndrome and power hungry. I don't see that with Judge Scotti. He still remained that same humble person that I knew when I first met him, when we first met him. He's kind, compassionate, empathetic. He is a constitutionalist. He believes in the 14 amendments of the Constitution. He believes in the entire Constitution. He has a copy of the Constitution. If it's not on his person, it's in his car. But we interviewed him. We have endorsed him. He's came on the show and talked about the Constitution slipping, and I believe him. This guy has never lied to me. No lie that I could find out that he did. What he stated on our show is that during that week he buried his dad. And his dad is a Vietnam veteran or the war before that? But his dad is a military veteran that served his country in combat, and his dad received some ailments from the military, and he was service-connected disabled, and eventually succumbed to his injuries. That week, the Constitution slipped out of Judge Scotti's hand. Judge Scotti just wants to make sure, he made the comment about, you got men and women fighting for this country and dying for this country to uphold the Constitution and this great republic that we have. And he felt that a jurist didn't want to do the civic duty, was to stay and be a part of the court process and hear the evidence and make fact and findings and then make a decision. He feels that everybody deserves to have a part in making this country great, whether to serve in our military or be a part of our jury selection. He thinks that every American should do their part in making this country great. And I also believe the same thing. And he pulled out the Constitution and he was showing it, and it just slipped out of his hand because he was shaking it. That's all that happened with Richard Scotti. But you know what? People trying to make a big thing about it and just using that to remove this man from the bench. And that's all they're using. It's a political witch hunt. That's what they're trying to get. You talk about Nevada Judicial Disciplinary Commission. I have personally filed mountains of evidence with the Nevada Commission on Judicial Discipline against judges, and they flat out just dismiss it. But they're going to come after Richard Scotti because the Constitution left his hand. Nevada Judicial Disciplinary Commission, you guys are a bunch of jokes. Mm-hmm. You guys are a political tool that is used to remove judges for political reasons. It's not used to remove judges because the judge is corrupt and bad, to protect the public. The Nevada Judicial Disciplinary Commission is supposed to protect the public, not protect one judge from the other, and not to use as a political tool. And that's exactly what it's being used for. And it's sickening. It really is. But with that said, we already endorsed Judge Scotti, and I'm sure nobody would want to rescind that endorsement. We couldn't do it anyway if we can. But Richard Scotti, thank you for your service to the bench, and I hope that you continue with your service for the next 6 years. You're a great man, and if people don't see that, they're just stupid. Let's move on to the next one. Clark County District Court Judge, Department 3. We have Adam Gens and Monica Trujillo. Trio. And just to inform everybody that during the primary roundtable, we recommended Monica Trujillo. And we could either, since it's a recommendation, she could keep it or she could lose it. So that one is up for grabs.
All right. So Adam is endorsed by some groups and stuff like that. The Attorney General endorses him. The County Commissioner endorses him. Clark County District Attorney endorses him. I don't find any of those impressive. I do find one very impressive endorsement from him. It's from the Clark County Prosecutors Association. He's the only candidate to receive a law enforcement endorsement before the primary. So that is slightly impressive. Teamsters, of course. Public Safety Alliance, which is like Metro and Peace Officers. Nevada Association of Public Safety Officers. Adam's Ballotopia is that he's a lifelong resident in Nevada. And for more than 20 years, he's worked and protected communities as a civil litigation trial attorney. And he's done some difficult, complex matters. He's done volunteer as a child advocate, representing abused and neglected children in family court, which we've seen needs to happen more. These children need a voice. He's a pro-peace term, or Peace Pro term. He's done over 100 arbitrations in cases. He's done short trial judge. He's ran several small businesses. He's had a seat in several nonprofit boards in the community. And he is a peer-rated AV for the highest ethical and professional excellence by a few of the candidates in there. They rate him very high with that. 3 of his key messages campaigns is 20 years of experience and voted high ethical and professional excellence by fellow attorneys and judges and things like that. Public policies he is personally passionate about. The most political answer he could have gave, ducking, just numerous. Didn't state out 2 or 3 that he's really key-hearted on, and you know what I mean, like he's willing to practice for. Just straight political answer, numerous. So that's what I have on him. Monica is endorsed by a few other people. Hispanics in Politics, Clark County Black Caucus, Latina Chamber of Commerce, Culinary Union, Asian Group, Las Vegas Sun newspaper. She's her Ballotopia is she moved to Nevada in 2008, and she served as a public defender. She has dedicated her career to public service, helping people as a public defender. She's handled cases from misdemeanors to felonies through all phases of the criminal justice process. And for the last 7 years, she's exclusively handled homicide cases. And she is qualified to serve as a lead defense attorney in the case of the state of Nevada is seeking the death penalty as punishment. So she's qualified to do that. She has been in many courtrooms almost daily for years. It's important for her to be prepared, thoughtful, and efficient in her work in the courtroom. More dedication of her service. She is a person with integrity. Her work ethic is unmatched, according to her. This is her statement. And she's never been afraid to do what's right. And she says that will never change. So 3 of her key campaign things is she's proven in the courtroom. She's encouraged better community relations and outreach programs with the bench in an effort to promote confidence in the judge and the system and everything like that. She's ensured that everybody in the courtroom is treated professional and courteous and with respect, instead of certain judges using racial slurs from the bench towards litigants and their children. She didn't like that. Areas of public policy she's personally passionate about which I did like because she didn't duck this question. She didn't give a political answer. She said, I'm passionate about fairness, equality under the law, and ensuring the protections of all rights. That's a good answer. Her primary concern about today's legal system is that some judges make decisions inconsistent with the law from the bench at times. It appears that these judges are more concerned with the prominence of the people appearing before them rather than them making a decision based upon the law that is at the time. And a judge must always be fair and impartial and follow the law. So her big thing is don't dictate law from the bench. The law is what the law is, and apply it evenly across the board. You don't get to interpret it. You don't get to play with it. And she's passionate about that.
You don't become a legislator.
Well, legally you shouldn't. But that's those two candidates right there.
Okay. Nothing negative or positive to say about Adam Gaines. Don't know. Although he did send me an email and was clarifying campaign and expense reporting. And Monica Trujillo, we recommended her last time in the primary. And that's all I have on these two candidates. Jim? Matt?
Pass it to the left.
Jono? Robert?
So Trujillo seems like she's the real deal in this race. And the other man, Gates, or Gans, or whatever his name is, he seems like he's more of an opportunist. You know, he's just going to come in here and maybe throw some stuff out to some people and fool somebody and get on the bench. And what it probably is, he's probably just a lazy lawyer. I'd say Trujillo's the best in this race.
Madoff?
No comment. I don't know either of them.
Okay. Well, weren't you here when we did the primary?
I probably was, but
All
I
right.
don't have that much information on that.
Let's take a vote. Adam Gans, Monica Trujillo. So we remain her. Monica Trujillo recommended for District Court Judge Department 3. And Monica, you kept your recommendation. Congrats.
Dun, dun, dun.
We're moving on. We got Clark County District Court Department 4. We're going to have Phil Arbach and Nadia Kroll. And Robert Madoff is the man who this was assigned to. Go ahead, Robert.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, first of all, happy belated birthday. It was your 29th birthday yesterday?
23.
23. Okay. Anyway, the Department 4, Nadia Kroll and Phil Arbach. Nadia Kroll was admitted into the bar in 2001. Nadia Kroll Manjdenko, and Nadia Kroll is the name that she's using for the judicial position. First of all, as most of the people are aware, I do some deep digging. And I couldn't find anything on Nadia Kroll in terms of negativity. She's respected by her fellow attorneys and judges alike for her professionalism and honesty. She's already been a judge pro tem in Las Vegas Justice Court, a mediator for the Nevada State foreclosure mediation programs, and an arbitrator in Clark County District Court. So she does have experience in terms of in a judicial position. There is nothing negative on Ms. Kroll whatsoever. I even asked some of the attorneys that she has liaisons with, and I found out that she goes down to she feeds the homeless once a week without any publicity, without any fanfare. She does it because she believes in it. So that made me look even deeper. And I couldn't find anything on her. She has no discipline, issues with the state bar or the discipline committee. And after speaking to a few, 2 or 3 judges and a number of attorneys, they all reconfirmed my thought that she would be a credit to the judicial bench. Phil Auerbach, he was admitted in 1977, which makes he's been around for 43 years in Nevada practicing law. And in an interview he did with a local newspaper here, he indicated that he did 300 cases in almost 40 years. Think about that for a second. That's 7 3/4 cases a year. There's a red flag right there. So I really started doing some digging on him, and basically he's got some major conflicts over the years of interest. The thing is that there's one example, and of many examples, and I would be able to sit here for about an hour and give you the cases that he's had his hand in the cookie jar. One specific case that occurred in 2013, it was a bankruptcy case. The case number is 09-31603 MKN, and the debtor was Mr. William Gaylor. Mr. Auerbach simultaneously represented basically both parties who were adversarial with one another. And for that, he received a letter from the Nevada Rules of Professional Conduct, Rule 1.7. He made off with $1.4 million off of that case. And there's at least another 6 or 7 cases that I looked into. He did the exact same thing, walking off with a large amount of money. With Steve Sanson and Jim Jonas's permission, I asked Ms. Kroll and Mr. Auerbach to come on to their podcast, and Ms. Kroll came and was interviewed by Mr. Jonas and Mr. Sanson, and Mr. Auerbach didn't even bother phoning me back. He would have a chance to defend himself, for specifically this case and other cases. But if you really think about it, the public defenders and the prosecutors, they handle the public defenders may handle anywhere from 5 to 10 to 15 cases a day. They'll have that 400 cases down in a few weeks, or 300 cases. But this gentleman has been practicing law for 40 years in Las Vegas, and in his own words, he clearly indicated that he's handled 300 litigants in the 40 years. That's totally amazing to me. And that's basically what I have to say about Mr. Auerbach and Ms. Kroll.
So, Doc, I got a question. You said he averages 7.5 cases a year. And you have 7 cases in which he did something corrupt. So at least once a year, he does something corrupt.
Absolutely, yeah. That is 100% true.
Okay. So this comes down to a point of, you have a young lady that is doing everything right, is making her way up the ladder, which the ladder, who knows how far that goes. But Auerbach has definitely reached the top rung of the ladder in his life, and it's time to vote him out.
Well, neither one of the two are the incumbents.
It's time to make sure Mr. Auerbach is not the incumbent.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So I'm familiar with both candidates. Nadia Kroll, she came on the show, and we did a remarkable, heartfelt interview.
Yes, it was.
That woman was down to earth, and that's what we needed on the bench. People that are down to earth, not putting themselves on some pedestal. Phil Auerbach, like you mentioned, 43 years of practicing law, only 300 cases. And, anybody could take a look at that and look at all the other cases. He walked away with $1.4 million when he's working both sides or whatever. He doesn't, because I was wondering, how could this guy eat? 300 cases in 43 years. how do you eat? Because you can't make that much money off of 300 candidates in 43 years. So when you mentioned the doing the dual, working for the dual debtors and taking that much money, that's how he rips people off. So
That's basically it.
that makes more sense to me. But and he's up in age, and not to hold it against him, but usually when candidates are up in age like that, they're usually trying to fill a bucket list. That's what he's trying to do, in my perspective, because I don't think that he could handle the dueling job of the drooling job of a district court judge if he's only working 300 cases in 43 years. A district court judge probably sees that many cases in a day. So the guy is not really a hustle and a bustler. So there's probably going to be a lot of delays in his courtroom if he was ever elected.
Absolutely.
My perspective.
And again, those were Mr. Auerbach's words in an interview with the Nevada Independent News. They asked him how many litigants have you represented, since 1977, and he clearly it's in black and white, 300 cases. That was his reply.
Frank, Jim.
Yeah, I wanted to. Testing 1, 2, 3. Are we on?
We did a sound check earlier. Were you not here?
Yes, I was here. No, I wanted to say a couple things. I remember reading the article. I wanted to mention about the Auerbach. I remember reading that one where he had his hand in the Phil Auerbach had his hand in the cookie jar, meaning billing simultaneously two clients that are adversarial with one another. And this is like a major, I think as most people know, a major thing. And I think it's important to understand why this is so wrong and so offensive. It's because the attorney is supposed to be the knight in shining armor for the client. And when you do this, when you're representing both sides of the fence, you really betray both clients. You know what I mean? And I just don't think that's the kind of quality you want in somebody on the bench. There's no other way to say it. Also, regarding Ms. Kroll, I will say I had the opportunity to correspond with her this weekend, and it was an interesting situation. But I will say, if Ms. Kroll is out there in Radio Land, she is the nicest. I mean, seriously, the most courteous and kind and professional. And I think she possesses all of those attributes that we want in a district court judge. And so she certainly has my enthusiastic support. And there it is. Next.
Gianno? Faust? Okay. So, show of hands, Phil Auerbach. Show of hands, Nadia Kroll. So, Nadia, congratulations. You're recommended again in the general election. And I truly believe that you'll make an outstanding district court judge for that department, and keep up the good work, and we wish you well. Moving right along, Clark County District Court Judge, Department 5, we have Veronica Barish and Terry Coffin. And just to let you know that Terry Coffin was recommended by us in the primary, and I believe Mr. Madoff and Mr. Amato did a switcheroo on me, and I don't know why they did a switcheroo on me. I don't know. I don't see any conflict of interest because none of these two never sat as is not a district court judge, so they're both not on the bench. So, anyways. Go ahead, Gianno.
All right, thanks. So with Veronica Barisic, how do you pronounce her last name? Barisic? Barish. Okay, so she didn't fill out a Ballotopia. She also, let's see, she got a lawyers.com only gave her a 24 out of 100. Avvo gave her a 6.5. So that's definitely not good. She went to school, received her bachelor's at Michigan State University in 2000. She also went to Western Michigan University, where she received her JD in 2004. The law school she went to was Thomas M. Cooley Law School in 2004. She's been practicing for the last 15 years in general law, civil litigation, consumer debt, probate, and family law. She also has some divorce and custody experience.
She should have ran against Matthew Harder.
Oh, I wish she would have. I want to say, I don't think, we tried to get everybody to run against him, but, nobody would. Now, I think the issue with her, okay, she has some trial experience with settlements, arbitrations, mediations, and some administration hearings. She was a pro temp, 3 years as a justice of the peace pro temp judge in Las Vegas small claims. The problem is, if she only has a 24 out of 100 and she only has a 6.5 on AVO, I don't think she would be a good judge. Now, with Terry Coffing, he was admitted to the bar in 1992, in Nevada in 1993. He has 27 years in Nevada experience. His education, he went to Hamlin University School of Law, University of Wisconsin. He was the Honorable Jack Lehman's 8th Judicial District Court of Las Vegas law clerk, United States Office for the District of Minnesota. I wasn't able to see how long he was there. Also, he has a lot of professional associations. State Bar of Nevada member, Minnesota State Bar Association member, Clark County Bar Association member, Nevada Justice Association member. He also has a lot of honors. Named 2021 Best Lawyers, Lawyer of the Year for the First Amendment Law in Las Vegas area, named to the Best Lawyers American List 2018 to 2021, Nevada Business Magazine Legal Elite 2009, 11, 14, 16, and 18, Top Lawyers in Desert Companion. It goes on and on. Desert Companion Top Lawyers 2014, 2012 Top Lawyers Media Law in Desert Companion. So we already previously recommended him, so I'm going to stick with him.
So on paper, Coffing looks a lot better than Barish, but you got to be careful with what you're getting on when you just do on paper as far as to interviewing the clients. But I would say this about Barish: she just doesn't have enough experience to be a criminal court judge, if you want my opinion.
Let me stop you right there. The only tool that we have to know about these candidates is paper. Now, if they showed up to our interview process, maybe we would have had that as well.
And that would definitely be a more efficient process. But right now, I'd have to say that Coffing is the one that has the experience and probably could handle a criminal court case.
Madoff? Mike Madoff. It's already muzzled with that facial mask that's only covering up your mouth and not your nose. It's working right now. Why even put it on? Take it off.
I usually put it on my nose as well. I definitely agree with Jono. This gentleman, he's got a lot of experience.
You know what? Now I recall Terry Coffing. I want to say I did call him to try to run against Matthew Harder. He didn't take my invitation. But, I mean, we did still recommend him. I can't hold it against him. So that's all I got on him.
Phillips? Jonas? Frank? Okay, so let's take a vote. Veronica Barish. Okay. Terry Coffin. So, Mr. Coffin, you are recommended again in the general election for Clark County District Court Department number 5. So, moving right along, we have Clark County District Court Department number 6. We have Jacqueline Bluth and Todd Leventhal. And just to let everyone know, I believe that Todd Leventhal ran before. Not positive, but I know Jacqueline Bluth went through the appointment process with the Nevada Judicial Selection Committee, and I was there when she was going through that process, and there was 3 names submitted to the governor's office, and Jacqueline Bluth received the appointment to that seat, so she's the incumbent appointed judge for District Court 6. And that's all I know for these 2 candidates. And it's your list, Mr. Madoff?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, Judge Bluth, as Steve said, she was appointed by Governor Sisolak in March 27th of 2019. She was admitted into the Nevada State Bar 2007. I mean, the thing is that Judge Bluth, according to attorneys that I've spoken to and 1 or 2 judges, she's doing an outstanding job. Her only problem is that she's easily swayed by her husband. Her husband is a Metro Police Detective, Kelly Bluth. And that's some of the judges and attorneys' only concern if she's doing, and she does do a lot of criminal matters. And if Detective Bluth has been involved or knows of the case, that she can be easily swayed by her husband. That's what I was told. I don't know Judge Bluth whatsoever. I mean, it really doesn't make any difference because Todd Leventhal, an attorney contacted me a few days ago, and he put me in contact with some information. This is, oh, you've already got it. Okay. This is unbelievable. Todd Leventhal, he's been once disciplined for a public reprimand. There was, and the State Bar of Nevada, the case number, if anybody would like to look at it, is S as in Sam, G as in George, 14-0127. And it was a case that Mr. Leventhal was approached by a Charlene D. Ellis. She had 3 or 4 counts of drug issues. And basically, Mr. Leventhal indicated to her that it would be $25,000 to represent her. So he gave her, Miss Ellis gave Mr. Leventhal $1,900 in cash and a jet ski trailer, which is another $700 or $800. And there was still money outstanding. Basically, a couple days before the case, Leventhal would no longer represent Miss Ellis due to a lack of payment. On July 16th, 2012, there was an agreement made. It's called a flat fee retainer. And Miss Ellis had a home that was valued at $225,000. It was in Lot 81, Golden Springs Ranch in Unit 3 in Nye County. Basically, and I have to go refer to some information that I have here, that at that point, Mr. Leventhal, who is the manager of TEGO LLC, and there was a gentleman running for the sheriff in that county named Mark Zane, and he also had a company called TLC Nevada Incorporated. And Zane also does a lot of private investigations for Mr. Leventhal. Basically, when Leventhal threatened to withdraw as her legal counsel, Ellis met Leventhal at his office to work out a payment plan. And he hiked up his fee to $125,000 from $25,000. And also, that they agreed to a quit claim deed which would constitute payment in full according to the motion, which alleges Ellis was coerced into signing it after this upfront attorney, Leventhal, told her she could face 25 years to life in prison. And we have to trust our attorneys that represent us. Leventhal assured it was only a lien, not conveyance of title to the property. There was another attorney that I tried to get a hold of this afternoon, Matthew Callister, claimed the deeds Ellis signed conveyed her home. She conveyed her home, the property that was valued at $225,000, to the companies Tego LLC, which Leventhal owns, and TLC Nevada Incorporated, which Mark Zane owns. At no time did the plaintiff, meaning Ellis, agree in any way to quit claim her home to Mark Zane or any other entities. Anyway, long story short, that she was sent an eviction notice, complicated with the fact that Leventhal failed to represent her in court even after signing the quick deed. Also, when she was fighting the eviction order, the complaint also adds, Zane transferred the power bill to his name and cut off power in mid-March. This was years ago, 6 years ago. She lived without power in that home for about 6 months. Zane obtained another eviction order February 4th, 2014 in the Pahrump Justice Court, according to the court documents. And Ellis appealed to the 5th District Court. Basically, bottom line it is Leventhal and Zane conspired. There was intent by Leventhal and Zane. Intent incorporates a crime. Conspired to con the plaintiff out of her home by creating a quitclaim deed that conveyed title to her home to entities for which both Leventhal and Zane had a personal interest. This is the type of a lawyer you want for a judge, this Todd Leventhal. He should have been charged, with fraud and an intent to commit fraud. And basically, what happened was that the case had been referred to a senior judge in Las Vegas. The court records show attorney Lillian Donahue is now substituted as Zane's attorney, and 5th District Judge Robert Lane has recused himself from the case due to his re-election campaign against Donahue. And this is, again, it was back 6 years ago. But I also tried to get a hold of, I located Charlene D. Ellis's phone number, which I left her a message this afternoon. And I wish I would have had more time to research this and got this a lot quicker. Just from where I'm sitting is that Leventhal and Zane, their intent was to defraud this woman, Leventhal's client, out of her home. How does a fee go up from $25,000 to $125,000? That's almost impossible. And that's basically it. And my recommendation is Judge Bluth strongly. Go ahead.
Did I even say anything about these two candidates already?
No.
That was such a long, intense investigation you did, Mr. Madoff.
Yeah, thank you.
You're always in depth with these.
I know.
When I first heard it, I said the guy's just long-winded, and then I realized that the guy's just an investigator.
I am.
Okay, so District Court Department 6, Jacqueline Bluth, and I already talked about both of them. So let me just go right on the line. Frank.
Jacqueline.
No. Do you have anything?
No.
Jim.
No, I'm good.
I pass.
Giano.
Yeah, I definitely got something to say. So what happened here, right, is exactly how the system is set up. You get charged and they say, hey, listen, you're facing 100 years. Either take 5 years or you're screwed, right? But like this attorney, what he did is, you take somebody that don't know nothing about law and you say, hey, listen, you're facing 25 years to life. Of course, she's going to give up. If she had $1 million, she's going to give it up. So for somebody to use somebody like that and manipulate them and scare them instead of helping, we definitely do not want somebody like that on that bench. So hell with that. I would never recommend anybody like that. And we need to make sure that the people know who the hell this guy is. If he's that corrupt, we do not want him up there.
Faust,
I second that.
you picked up the mic.
I did. I thought we were going to get a response.
Oh, okay. So let's take a vote. Ooh, hear that voice? Todd Leventhal. Okay, Todd, you got a fan. Jacqueline Bluth. Okay, Judge Bluth, you've been recommended from the Veterans in Politics for your elected run for District Court Judge Department number 6, and we're going to move right along. We have District Court Judge Department number 8. We have Trevor Atkin, and we have Jessica Peterson. Now, I don't know anything about Jessica Peterson. I had the privilege to meet Judge Atkin. By the way, Judge Atkin went before the Judicial Selection Committee, and I had the opportunity to watch his interview with the Judicial Selection Committee, and I believe he did an outstanding job. And his name was sent to the governor, and he is appointed to the Department number 8 for the 8th Judicial District Court. I ran into Judge Atkin at a formal event probably about a year ago, or probably less, probably about a year ago or less, something like that. Anyways, he seems very responsive and pleasant, and a pleasure to be around. He wasn't stuck up or conceited or anything like that. He seemed like a very, very decent guy, and that's all I got to say about that. So Robert Faust has this. Go ahead, Robert.
This is Trevor Lee Atkin. He was appointed by Governor Sisolak, which is a bad mark against her to begin with. And Jessica Katrina Peterson, she's a very inexperienced girl. She just got into a race that she thought she could win. And but I understand from attorney friends of mine that Trevor Lee Atkin is definitely an honest man and a good man. And so that's where I'm going to go right there. I can't get my phone to work.
Gianno? Phillips? Friends? Madoff? Okay. Let's take a vote. Jessica Peterson, show hands. Trevor Atkins, show hands. Okay, Trevor Atkins is. Judge Atkins, you've been recommended from the Veterans in Politics for Clark County District Court Judge Department number 8. Moving right along, we have Clark County District Court Judge Department number 17. We have Anna Alberson, and we have Michael Villani, and I'll let Robert Faust talk first, and then I'll chime in.
Well, this isn't much of a race, and you gave me some real sweethearts here. Jessica Katrina or Catherine Peterson just has no experience. She's basically from Michigan.
We're on Department number 17, yeah. Anna Alberson.
This is Villani and Albertson.
Yeah,
that's right. And she basically, Albertson I can't even read my own writing.
You want my glasses?
Villani's a sitting judge. I might need him. Villani's a sitting judge, and my attorneys tell me that he's a heck of a guy, that he's honest, he's fair, and he takes the judgeship pretty seriously. Yana Christina Albertson is basically just a newcomer on the scene and does not have the experience to be a district court judge. So I'm going to go with Villani.
All right. Well, I don't know Anna Albertson. The only thing I know about her, a friend of mine is supporting her and wanted me to get on board. But I do know Michael Villani. I remember Michael Villani when he was an attorney running for judge, and we end up endorsing him. And Michael's son is a Marine and was suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder and did many combat tours. And I went and helped support the Villani family. We drove to Judge Villani's son's funeral, and it was a very, very satisfying and refreshing funeral, because it had all the military stuff in there. It had the convoy, it had the flag, it had the bugle playing. So it just brought back a lot of memories and a lot of tears, just being there and being a part of that environment. But it's good to put to rest a fellow Marine with honors, and I believe his son received all the honors for that. And it's terrible for a parent to lose a child. I'll say that. But the Michael Villani, he's a good guy. Very humble, very knowledgeable. But I got a little upset with you, Judge Villani, when you didn't come to our endorsement interview. Just to let you know, because I was hoping you'd come and interview with us like you have been in the past, and I was a little disappointed that you didn't come. I mean, you're going to win this thing. You know, I know it in my heart you're going to win this thing. You don't really need no campaign consultant to tell you what to do. You're going to win this thing. So, but anyways, that's all I got to say about that. So, Frank?
Well, from what you said, the attorneys like him. What you said, you met the dude and liked him. His son was honorable. Father seems honorable. I don't see why we would change that.
Well, I had a few words to say about the Anna Albertson situation. And I've been trying to, I wanted to contact these candidates and, see what time of the day it is and talk to these people. And some have been receptive and some have been less receptive than others. But I had tried to contact Anna Albertson. She was in a family court department race. And it's one of those things where you're in one race and then at the last minute you get out into another race. And I'm thinking, what kind of mindset is it when you have a judge who goes, oh, I really want to be on the family court bench. Let me change my mind. Maybe I'll be in the district court, It seems to me that if a judge is going to be judge and they're serious about it, if indeed they're sincere, they would have kind of thought about it and geared up for it ahead of time. And again, this idea, not to be, kicking the old caballo muerto here, but this idea of jockeying for position and getting in one race and getting into another one, it suggests that there may be some kind of, inside agreement, some kind of secret agreements between incumbents and others.
You wouldn't think it'd be like a little strategy, maybe? Maybe you might say, I don't want to run against that person. That person is too popular, or I have too much money, or my boss is probably going to kill me if I run against that person.
But why'd they get in the race in the first place? That kind of begs the question. If they didn't want to,
Probably didn't realize it until they was in the race, because now everybody knows they're in the race. Probably just them that know, and maybe their family, and they put their name down, and somebody sees it and be like, What are you doing? Are you crazy? Get out that race. That's my boy. You know.
Well, I mean, it could be, but there shouldn't be that kind of pressure where somebody calls someone and says, "Hey, that's why don't you run against somebody else? This person is
Welcome
well-respected,
to
so-"
politics.
You know,
Welcome to politics,
I would say,
my friend.
and I would say, yes, that has a place. Again, I want to be clear. I don't want to be too burdensome and kicking the caballo muerto here, but this is a non-political race. I understand that gerrymandering
Welcome to Nevada.
and jockeying when it comes to R&D with Republicans and Democrats, they can strategize. The judges and lawyers should not be strategizing. And based on the way that Ms. Albertson responds to me, she was I don't think she was professional. I don't think she was courteous in the way she responded, and I just do not think she is judge material. So I wanted to say that, and if she's listening, it's all good at the end of the day, but I would like to see a judiciary that's fair, that responds to people, and addresses them, because after all, we know what the law says in Nevada. The campaigning is supposed to be open and public, and there should be that discourse. So even if there's some crazy guy who's, who is this guy contacting me? What does he want? Why is he trying to dress like Ray Charles? I don't know. The whole point is that, they should be more open and the candor and stuff. So that's my 2 cents, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Amato?
No comment.
Faust?
Just Villani's my choice.
Jonas?
Hey, you know what? I actually agree with Faust.
Madoff?
I agree with Jim, who agrees with Bob.
All right, there's a lot of green going on here.
I'm gonna raise Jim, and I'm gonna.
Okay, so Anna Albertson, show of hands. Judge Michael Villani. Judge Villani, you are recommended, but if you came to the endorsement interview, you would have been endorsed, because we know that you're a very, very capable judge. And I tell you, it's just disappointing you didn't show up to the endorsement interview, Judge Villani, again. All right, so moving right along. Judge Villani, you are recommended, and good luck to you in your race. Not that you need it, but good luck to you in your race, sir. District Court Judge Department number 18, we have Mary Kay Holthus and John A. Hunt. Robert, it's you.
So Mary Kay Holthus has been on the bench for a little while, and she's done a pretty good job. She was a district attorney, a prosecutor, before she came to the bench. And this is basically where our criminal judges should come from, is either the public defender's office or the prosecutor's office. They shouldn't be coming from civil courts or for family courts, because I just don't think they understand the consequences and, quite frankly, the deviousness that can come with criminal cases. So Mary Kay Holthus has been on the bench for a while. She's the incumbent. I don't see any reason to replace her. John A. Hunt, on the other hand, is a fat cat lawyer. He is a civil lawyer and basically does civil cases. He's represented the Dental Association. He's represented railroads. He spends a lot of time in the higher court. It's not that he's not competent. It's just that he's a fat cat, and he's basically out for himself, and I think he's out of his league in this race, and I'm going to go with Mary Kay Holthus.
I don't really know either one of these two individuals that well. So, I mean, unless anybody here has anything more to add, I agree with Robert.
Okay, so
I'm sure Steve does. Steve is the
Department 18.
Well, no, I know it's Department 18.
Okay. Are you adding something?
No, I was just gonna be a smart aleck and say if Thomas is the judge maker, what would that make you? Like the judge
breaker.
Yeah. There you go.
So
I'm sure basically I'm being a wise guy.
I think we helped make a few. District Court Judge Department number 18, Mary Kay Holthus. I had the pleasure of sitting in Mary Kay Holthus interview process when she went before the Nevada Judicial Selection Committee, and I believe she did a pretty good job. And I also met her at a function up in Boca Park, and she was pleasant, and that's all I know about her. John A. Hunt, on the other hand, I have known John Hunt for a number of years, probably 15, somewhere around there. Love his bow tie, though. You ever seen him with the bow tie? Kind of remind me of Bernie Zagrowski, with the bow tie over there in the courthouse. But John Hunt is a veteran, United States Air Force. I wrote a letter to the Judicial Selection Committee when he was before the Judicial Selection Committee. And matter of fact, he's been before the Judicial Selection Committee, I believe, twice, if my memory serves me correctly. And his name was sent to the governor's office because he was recommended by the Nevada Judicial Selection Committee. And if anybody ever goes through the Nevada Judicial Selection Committee, it is a very vigorous process, and you have to supply all kinds of criminal background, bankruptcy, what schools you went to. It's a very, very rigorous process, and it's a very educational process because they really tear into these different candidates before the body. They really tear into them, and they Judicial Selection Committee does their homework. By the way, they're very thorough. They're very smart. They listen to the public for public input. So with that, I just want to let everybody know that judicial selection. So when you pass, when your name is sent to the governor's office by these people, they did their homework. So, but John Hunt never was recommended by the governor, and both of these candidates were before the Nevada Judicial Selection Committee. To be fair to both of them, but that's all I have on that. And you guys already did your spiel. Okay, so let's take a vote for recommendation. Mary Kay Halthus, show of hands. 3. John Hunt, show of hands. You guys are staying out of it?
I'm abstaining on this one.
I'm staying out of it.
So it looks like Mary Kay Halthus is recommended for District Court, Department 18. Moving right along, we have District Court Judge, Department 19. We have Crystal Eller, and we have William Bill Kephart. And for full disclosure, we have already endorsed William Kephart for District Court Judge, Department 19, and he's the incumbent judge in this race, but we're just going to hear the input. So, Giano, this was you. Did you switched it?
Yeah, we switched it with me.
Oh, okay, Robert Madoff.
Yeah, to begin, Judge Kephart, he passed the state bar in 1988. He's been a deputy district DA, and earlier in his career he was a deputy city DA until he took office in 2014. He was a Las Vegas Justice Court Justice of the Peace, and then finally in 2015 he got voted in the Nevada District Court, where he's currently presiding right now.
See, Mr. Madoff, maybe you should lose the face shield because I don't think anybody heard anything you said,
Okay,
and you don't even have a mic.
I'll try it again. I do apologize. Judge Kephart was admitted into the Nevada State Bar in 1988. He's been a deputy city district attorney, a deputy district attorney, and in 2014, he got his first position on the bench as a Las Vegas Justice Court Justice of the Peace. And then in 2015, he had become a Nevada District Court Judge, which he currently is a sitting judge right now. Many people respect this man. If he makes a mistake, he owns up to it. Case in point, when there was some controversy over a case a number of years ago in Las Vegas for he was a deputy prosecutor with Judge Herndon. We approached Judge Herndon and Judge Kephart to appear on Mr. Sanson's and Mr. Jonas's show, and Judge Kephart did appear. And to me, basically, the explanation that he gave and he provided to Mr. Sanson and Mr. Jonas and to the viewers was totally acceptable. Judge Kephart is very popular in the city of Las Vegas and Nevada, and he has a long history of serving the state and the city of Las Vegas. Crystal Eller, she was admitted into the bar in 1994. She was also admitted into the Florida State Bar a few years after that. And currently, Crystal Eller is on suspension from the Florida Bar Association, which occurred in October 2019. She's not eligible to practice. And according to the records here in Nevada at the Nevada State Bar, she never declared that she's been suspended. As of this afternoon, I checked the Florida State Bar, and she still is suspended. Her bar number, if anybody wants to check this out, in Florida is 975-168. I don't understand, and it's very hard for me to comprehend that she's suspended in Florida, but she's allowed to possibly become into the judicial position here in Las Vegas. As a psychologist, if I was suspended in any state or province, I wouldn't be allowed to practice until I cleared up that suspension. It just doesn't make sense. On April the 6th, 2020, she received a letter of reprimand for a mishandling of a case. Basically, I looked into that briefly. It was a foreclosure sale of one of her clients, Miss, and I hope I'm pronouncing this correct, Miss Cucinato. Miss Eller charged 16%, or approximately $12,500 for 5 days' work. She was reprimanded by the State Bar under RPC 1.5, and the State Bar of Nevada felt it was much too high amount and disciplined Eller.
Crystal Eller has no place in a criminal court unless she's a defendant. I can say that from experience. This woman is all about herself. She only wants the judgeship for the power and for the prestige, and she has no intention of doing anything that is remotely moral or consistent with good judgeship. Now that I can attest to. She's mostly done repossessions or foreclosures, and when the land sales were bad, she did them. I had an actual personal experience with her, and I wouldn't recommend her to anyone, for a judge or for a lawyer.
Just to add, we also attempted to get a hold of Miss Eller as well to come on the podcast with Mr. Sanson, Mr. Jonas, and again, she didn't even bother calling any of us back.
She's a lifelong politician. She ran for another judge position against a judge that she clerked for, and then she couldn't even present a case why she was a better person for the job than the judge she was running against.
Let me just talk about these two individuals for Department 19. There's a lot of people don't want to come to our endorsement interviews and our podcasts, not necessarily because of some wacko group out there, but because they don't know what questions we're going to ask. And a lot of these politicians, which that's what judges are when they're running for a seat, a lot of them, don't want their what you call it, history to be brought up, because they don't know what we're going to ask. They know we're thorough. They know we investigate. So a lot of them, when they don't come on, they're usually trying to protect themselves because they have something in their closet they don't want the world to know. So that's why they come on. But let me just briefly talk about these two. Crystal Eller. Well, you already mentioned that she was reprimanded by Nevada State Bar.
Yes.
And you already mentioned that she's under suspension at the Florida State Bar.
Correct.
Okay. Between those two, I don't even know why would anybody run against an incumbent judge. Now, Judge Bill Kephart, we've known Judge Bill Kephart for a long time. Before Judge Bill Kephart was a judge. He was a prosecutor out of DA's office. And I remember Judge Kephart, he has always been the same person he was when he first ran for judge. The same. You see, what you get with Judge Kephart, what you see with Judge Kephart, that's what you get. You get somebody that's honest, somebody that holds up to his responsibility, and somebody that's a no-nonsense person. And a lot of people don't know how to handle people that are no-nonsense, people that are just get right to the point and get rid of all the bullshit, because there's a lot of bullshit. Look, life's too short. Sometimes you just got to knock that bullshit out of the way and get to exactly what you want. And that's the type of judge Bill Kephart is. He used to be a Las Vegas justice of the peace. He was trying to be in charge of the Veterans Treatment Court. And I think if he was ever in charge of the Veterans Treatment Court, he would do an absolutely outstanding job, because that's the type of person Bill Kephart is. So if anybody don't know Bill Kephart, why don't you call him up and meet with him? The guy is a great guy. He's an excellent judge. And hopefully, Judge Bill Kephart, hopefully that one day you'll decide to run for Clark County District Attorney, because I think that you'll make an excellent DA. So think about it. Put that in your cap for the future. So, Frank, do you have anything? Oh, wait, I want to get back to you because you picked up the mic. So you got something to say?
Yeah, actually I do. You know, in the majority of the times that we've contacted the candidates and the sitting judges, I'm tired of hearing that their campaign manager, Tom Letitia and Dave Thomas, who are these people? You know, I mean, basically...
They're the kingmakers.
I don't think they're the kingmakers, because their record is not that good. I checked it out yesterday. They accept a lot of money. And I know 2 or 3 people that called up Mr. Letitia, including myself. And, you know, the bottom line is that I have a quicker, easier time getting to our Attorney General within 24 hours, Aaron Ford, than I have to this gentleman. And I am a voter, so... There's no way. There was 2 other people that called them repeatedly. We didn't harass them or anything, mind you, but we called them, you know, every day, each one of us for 5 days, not even a call back. And I don't know this Dave Thomas, but I haven't heard. What I do understand through a number of not just a couple of the candidates, that they made a mistake in hiring Letitia and Thomas. They pay a lot of money and they don't do anything.
You know what? Maybe me and Jim should just open up a consulting company and start getting candidates and do things right. You know, don't charge this exorbitant amount of fees. What, $20,000 for a bonus if you win in the primary, $50,000 for a bonus if you win in the general, or. So we can get back to this race now. Anyways, thank you for keeping me on track, because that was my job. I know I'm screwing that up. All right, you have something to say about this particular Department 19?
I can't see how Crystal Eller ever got past the primaries. There is a person that has a larceny in their heart. And if you want that on the bench, vote for her.
Okay. Anybody else?
I just wanted to add that I've had the opportunity to meet Judge Kephart. I've spoken with him, and he is very polite and very professional, and I feel very confident recommending him. I just wanted to put those 2 cents in. So,
Jim, Frank, Gianno. Okay, so we have already endorsed Judge Kephart. So, Judge Kephart, you're just still indoors. So thank you for your service, and see you on the bench for another 6 years. Moving right along, we got Clark County District Court Judge, Department 20. We got Dawn Elisa? Is that Elisa? Elisa Hooker? Elisa Hooker. And we have Eric Johnson and Gianno Amato. This is you.
All right, thanks. So Dawn Hooker, okay, she's been licensed for 24 years. She's a personal injury attorney. Dawn, she has been she's part of the Christensen Law Team since 2001. Areas of practice: personal injury, products liability, automobile accidents, wrongful death. The problem with her is she didn't fill out a Ballotpedia. No reviews, no ratings on Avvo. Lawyer.com rated her a 40 out of 100. No social media, no judicial website. So I think with Dawn Hooker, I don't know what you guys call it, but it's pretty much just like a fill-in judge, a fill-in candidate to make sure the other judge, a strategy to make sure they win. Eric Johnson, okay, so he's the incumbent in Department 20. He has a lot of experience. He was appointed by Brian Sandoval in May 2015, and he was voted and elected in 2016. He has an undergraduate degree from Imperial State University, Juris Doctor from the University of Kansas School of Law. Before his appointment to the 8th Judicial District Court, he served as an Assistant United States Attorney and Chief of the Criminal Division for the District of Nevada. Prior to his appointment, Judge Johnson was a special attorney with the United States Department of Justice, Organized Crime and Racketeering Section, and an Assistant United States Attorney with the U.S. Attorney's Office of the District of Nevada. Serving 10 years as Chief of the Office Organized Crime Task Force, and then 2 years as the overall Chief of the Criminal Division for the state. So he's very experienced. He also held a top secret security clearance needed to work with the Joint Task Force and law enforcement to keep Nevada safe. He had over 30 years experience with the U.S. Attorney's Office. Was twice honored as one of the nation's top prosecutors and received commendations from Tokyo, Japan, Public Prosecutor's Office, and Ministry of the Public Safety, People's Republic of China, for his work with the multi-million-dollar international money laundering prosecution. So I'm definitely going to recommend Eric Johnson, and Dawn Hooker is pretty much out. There's nothing about her. She pretty much just is running to make sure. I'm pretty sure that Eric Johnson wins that seat.
Okay, so I don't know about Dawn Hooker, but I do know about Eric Johnson. I can't remember if I sat through his Judicial Selection Committee interview because there were so many. I believe I did, but I'm not positive because it used to be in the smaller conference room until they moved it up into the Justices' chambers. But Eric Johnson was worked for the Department of Justice before becoming judge, and he was a prosecutor, and he was doing the G-Sting operation, prosecuting that. You know, the G-Sting operation with Michael Galati, Dario Herrera, County Commissioner. Michael Galati was a Cheetah's club owner, and Dario Herrera was on the County Commission with Aaron Kenny on the County Commission, Mary Kincaid Chauncey on the County Commission, Lance Malone on the County Commission. Bruce Woodbury, he was on the County Commission too, but he wasn't part of the G-Sting. And they were trying to involve Michael McDonald, who was now state party chairman, was a city council back then, and 3 other city council people in San Diego that Michael Galati owned a gentleman's club at as well. And apparently Michael Galati accused Eric Johnson of taking bribes. And apparently the Department of Justice have some disciplinary complaint in Eric Johnson's file, and we tried to get those disciplinary complaints with the Freedom of Information Act, and the DOJ turned us down. 5 years ago, Eric Johnson was in a very highly contested race in the general election with Annette Levy. And Annette Levy could have won that race. She could have won. She got over 249,000 votes in that race. She had more votes losing than a lot of judges have winning in different departments. Could you believe that? This is how highly contested this race was. And she could have unseated Eric Johnson, who was filling in for the appointment at that particular time before he was elected. So that's all I have about these two particular candidates. With just one more thing, Eric Johnson is married to Susan Johnson, who's another district court judge for the same 8th judicial district. But that's what do they call that when you have husband and wife on the same bench?
Nepotism?
Nepotism. So I wish there was a law against that. You know, you can't be in the same district court judge. You know, because they vote on stuff. They vote on different policies. They go to judges' committee hearings, and you think the husband and wife is not going to vote the same? Come on, you don't think they talk about their cases at home? Come on, they do. Come on, they got to. But that's all I have on that. And I got like different people with mics in their hands, and this one's trying to get a mic from me. So let me go with Frank Friends first, since I got to get the mic back.
All right, first off, Steve, just so you know, me and the wife don't vote the same. So it doesn't have to be that way. But he exposed corruption. He took corrupt people down. He took them out. You know what I mean? And there's nothing on the other one. So you got to go with somebody who's proven to get rid of corruption. And that's just my opinion.
Yep.
Madoff?
Thank you. With Eric Johnson, the case that Steve was talking about in California, it was specifically, and if my memory recalls me, it was in San Diego. Eric Johnson was actually removed from the case, not once but twice by the
DOJ.
Thank you, Department.
I wanted somebody else to say that for me.
By the Department of Justice. When I was asked to take a look at it, and I took a look, and the thing is that. It was as pertaining to the county commissioners here in Nevada. There was a strip club that was involved, and at that time, Eric Johnson was U.S. Attorney. Eric Johnson was actively involved in the strip club and taking favors. As a matter of fact, the only county commissioner at that time that wasn't affiliated with it was Bruce Woodbury.
Yeah, and just for the record, this particular G-Sting operation that took place that Eric Johnson was supposed to be lead prosecutor on and got removed, there was a lot of indictments and convictions. You have County Commissioner Lance Malone was called a bagman. He was locked up in federal prison for it. You have Erin Kenney. She took a plea deal and she ratted everybody else out. Erin Kenney. I told you it was a rat back in 1998. Anyway, so. She took a plea deal and she did federal time. And then you got Mary Kincaid Chauncey that I thought was the sweetest little old lady, but she was part of the thing too. You can never judge a book by its cover. Isn't that right, Mr. Faust?
That is absolutely true.
Exactly. Then she was also in federal pen for it. And then you got Lance Malone. He was also in federal. Oh, I said Lance Malone. You got Dario Herrera, who was supposed to be the golden child of the Democrat Party and the Latino community. He took a federal rap for the same thing. And then you had 3 city council persons in San Diego that also got indicted for it. So there was a lot of people getting arrested for this thing, and there was a highly profiled criminal crime. And it involved a lot of politicians. And if you think politicians don't lie and steal, you're not living on the same planet I am. Go ahead, Mr. Foster.
So Eric Johnson is a man who is too close to the flame, if you know what I mean. He sees corruption and he prosecutes corruption, but he seems to have a little taste for it in his own heart. And so I say he has larceny in his heart. And I say if you can afford to bribe him, he'll take your bribe. And if you can be discreet about it. And I say that Tara, is it Hooker? Yeah, it's Tara Hooker, isn't it? Dawn Hooker. I say that she hasn't been corrupted yet. And in this case, I would make a change and I would go away from Eric Johnson.
Amato?
So with Eric Johnson, do you recall exactly what was the evidence saying that he took a bribe? Do you know what it was?
It was testimony from Michael Galati, who was the owner of Cheetahs and several other gentlemen's clubs.
Who had no credibility.
And was that the reason that Eric Johnson got recused from that case?
Yes. Apparently there was something there. If the Department of Justice is going to remove you, there's got to be something there. They just don't remove you because Mike Galati came up and said, "Oh yeah, I gave him a bribe. I gave him 5 lap dance and a stripper." No, there's got to be some type of evidence for them to do that. And the fact that they wouldn't release his disciplinary records, that goes to show you, because the DOJ knew he was running for judge and knew he was an active judge as appointed. So they already knew it. So that's why they didn't want to give me the information.
Okay.
Steve?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That specific.
Could you use a mic, Mr. Madoff?
Oh, I forgot about that again. Sorry.
Giano, he was dirty in that case because the first time they removed him, he put up such a stink, and then the second time the DOJ actually removed him again from the same case twice. So as Steve says, if the DOJ says that you stink, you're dirty, you're out of there. So my question is, how in the hell did he get elected in Las Vegas?
It's Las Vegas.
It's Las Vegas.
Steve, I did have one quick question for you because you brought up, some of the golden children for the Democratic Party. Of all these cases that you've seen of corruption, have we ever done a tally on how many were Democrat and how many were Republican?
No.
We should look into that.
To veterans in politics, it doesn't really matter your party affiliation.
I know, but I think that's something the public would be interested in. You know what I mean? Like, if you got 100 corrupt cases and 97 are Republican, it should tell you something. Or if 97 are Democrat, it should tell you something with that values.
You talking about like liberal run cities with the most crime?
I'm going to tell you it's going to balance right out.
Hey, we got to stay focused. Amato.
No, I don't got nothing else.
Phillips.
I'm good.
Jonas.
I'm good.
All right, let's take a vote. Show of hands, Dawn Hooker.
No, I'm not.
Show of hands, Dawn Hooker.
At least she's honest.
2. Show of hands, Eric Johnson. 1. How come you're not?
Well, so I actually didn't know all that about Johnson, so I would definitely have to take my recommendation back. If I did know about that, and if I did know, I got my personal issues with trying to recuse judges. So, that's a big deal to me, so I would definitely take my recommendation back on that. And with Hooker, she didn't fill nothing out, so I don't think she's serious about trying to win.
So you have a alleged corrupt person and you got a ghost.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I'll go for the ghost.
Nevada, we're really pushing those really good candidates in office, aren't we? So, Phillips, anything?
Thank you. It's the whole thing with the weevils. We got 2 weevils and we're trying to pick the lesser of 2 weevils. So
Yeah.
I'm just throwing it out there, trying to say it like Cameron Crowe or what is his name?
I did make notion of that last week, didn't I?
Yes. And no, but it's an issue where, it's who do you go for when you're not really enthusiastic about either one?
Could you be like Kenny Rogers and just fold the cards?
I hold up or
and
fold
just say,
up.
hey,
know
just
when
give
to
me a
walk
new
away,
deck.
know when to run. I don't know.
Deal me some new cards. I don't want this card. This hand is trash.
Yes.
I mean, that's what it should be. The voters should say, there should be a box on the ballot, and if it gets the most, if the voter says none of these candidates, they should just have candidates reapply for that seat, have candidates reapply for that seat, and then take another vote and only vote for those candidates, those seats that you have to reapply for because the voter says none of these candidates. That's what none of these candidates need to mean something on the ballot. Right now, none of these candidates don't mean anything, because if you see, like in some of the federal races, it says none of these candidates, and people check it, but what does it mean? The candidate that has the most votes is going to win anyway. If none of these candidates has the most votes, we need to repeal it and put some new candidates in there and do the vote all over again. That's what none of these candidates should mean. It will have a true meaning. But Foss, you have anything?
No.
Madoff?
I just found some information on Dawn Hooker. She actually bartended at the All-Star Cafe.
I need to stick a mic right
I know,
back
up
now.
my ass.
She's bartended at the All-Star Cafe on the Strip part-time and worked full-time as a law clerk for her previous law firm until she passed the bar exam in 1999. And she's represented, she does a lot of property management in several landlord-tenant related disputes. And if I come up with anything else, I'll let you know.
Okay, so let's do this again. Show of hands, Dawn Hooker. 2. Show of hands, Eric Johnson. 1. Dawn Hooker is recommended. So Dawn Hooker is recommended for Clark County District Court, Department number 20, AKA Casper. Let's move it right along. Clark County District Court Judge, Department number 21. We have Tara Clark Newberry, and we have Jacob Reynolds. And in the primary election, we recommended Jacob Reynolds at the round table. And Mr. Mr. Amato, that's you as well.
Okay, so Tara Clark Newberry. She got her law degree in 2006 from California Western School of Law in San Diego, California. She is currently a bankruptcy attorney, former cop in Cincinnati for 8 years, and you guys know everything that's going on with the police right now. She's dedicated a significant amount of time to pro bono work with the Trial by Peers program, Juvenile Criminal Divisionary Program, and the Legal Aid Center of Southern Nevada. I like that. Avil rating is a 10. Voted 2012's top lawyer by Vegas Inc. Voted Mountain State Super Lawyer Rising Star for 2013-2014. Selected to the Super Lawyers for 2018 through 2020. Her experience includes a working and managing partner at the Clark Newberry Law Firm since 2010, as a mediator for Nevada's 8th Judicial District Court since 2017. Clark Newberry has also been affiliated with the following organizations: National Association of Consumer Advocates member, Clark County Bar Association member, National Association of Consumer Bankruptcy Attorneys member, Nevada Justice Association member. She says she's an experienced trial attorney and mediator. She is admitted in practice in the state of Nevada and in California. U.S. District of Nevada, the Supreme Court of the United States of America. And then we have Jacob Reynolds. No Ballotpedia. He does have a Facebook and a campaign website. He went to the Clark Law School of Brigham Young University. He clerked for 2 years in federal court for the former Chief Judge Roger Hunt, appointed by President Bill Clinton. Worked as an attorney at Hutchinson and Steffen PLLC, where he became a partner. He was selected to the Super Lawyers 2020, selected to the Rising Stars 2010, 2015, 2019. He's been licensed since 2006. Practice areas, business litigation, 80%, professional liability, 20%. I would definitely have to go with Jacob Reynolds. Now, the problem, I guess, with Tara Newberry, she's a former cop in Cincinnati. My problem is, if she's been a cop, how is she going to actually get on that bench and do the right thing? You know what I mean? I cannot see her not being biased against, somebody that she thinks is guilty. So I definitely have to go with Jacob Reynolds.
Foss, do you have anything?
Well, that's an interesting contrast in people, because she's a police officer and she might be of the opinion that because she hasn't been interviewed and we don't know what she's saying, she might be of the interview because she's an ex-cop that everybody's guilty and we're all criminals and just put us in jail and throw away the key. I'd like to have somebody that I think is a little more perceptive in that situation.
Now, the thing about that is, like, let's say, for instance, a lot of times in trial, a lot of police officers get on the stand, and I've seen it before. Yeah, I've seen it before in the Henderson courts, right? Where a judge used to be a former police officer, and automatically they sway whatever the police officer says. It's automatically true, and I do not see her. Now I don't know her, but I don't see her not being biased and not swaying towards the police officer. So go ahead.
Just a heads up, since they've actually implemented cameras and things like that and officers have to wear them, they've proven that over 92% of all cases against officers are false claims. So if there's an 8% chance that the officer might be lying, I would like a lawyer or an officer who's been out there in the streets that knows these things and be like, I can tell you're lying because that would have never happened in that situation, or that's not protocol to the department. You know what I mean? You can't assume that she's going to sway with them, especially when, like I said, 92% of the time they're accused of something, they're proven innocent.
Yeah, so that's good that you bring up the body cam, right? So what's happened nowadays with the body cam is they either turn off the body cam, or when the police officer is guilty and the police officer wants to make up shit, they don't release, the district attorney don't release that body cam, right? So the body cam is kind of not serving no justice, so if you could turn it off whenever you want, if the district attorney don't turn it over, what's the point? There is no point. Everything's a strategy.
The point would be due process. You got to wait for the court. You got to submit the evidence. You got to wait till it gets turned over. I mean, you can't just be like, hey, give me your body cam today. They got to go through the entire evidence. They got to go through everything. And like I said, when they use body cam evidence, 92% of the time, the cop is right. 92. You can't find a statistic like that anywhere. You can't find doctors and nurses that are right 92% of the time.
Great point. So that should tell you something. The 92%, when the officer's right, that means that they're going to turn over. When the officer's not in the wrong, they're going to make sure to turn it over, right? When it's in their benefit.
No, they turn it over regardless.
No, but they don't.
Gianni, they do. They turn it over regardless. How do you think that cop that shot that dude in the back and planted the taser on him, he got his body cam, they got photo evidence, they got cell phone evidence. His body cam snitched on him because he's a bad person.
Yes, but if you recall, there was a situation years ago where a guy got shot in Costco, right? And I want to say the sheriff at the time says, I don't got the video. 5 days later, he comes on almost crying, to the public, and he's on the news. I'm sorry, I had the video. I couldn't, tell anybody I had the video. And all of a sudden, the video was deleted. So okay. I mean, there's a lot of.
All right. Well, you know what? We have 7 more seats. Unless you guys plan to be here at 10 o'clock at night, then we could keep doing this. If you guys want to go home, then let's make this a minimum. It depends on you guys because I can stay here till 12.
Me too.
But
I got a wife to get home to.
okay, all right. So then we need to cut down the chit chatter. Let's move it right along. So I can't see. Hold on.
Next.
Phillips, you said you wanna chime in, or are you good?
I think there should be greater access.
Phillips, could you use the microphone, please?
I'll be real brief. There has to be greater access to microphones. Microphones rather.
Could you give me
body
that
cams?
microphone right
Body
there?
cams.
I want to give this one to Madoff. That way he has his own.
That's all I think I wanted to add. Thank you.
Jonas, you have anything? Friends?
I stay.
Madoff? Nope. All right. So show of hands, Terry Clark, or sorry, Tara Clark. Newberry. Is that a hand?
Yep.
Okay. Show of hands, Jacob Reynolds. Okay.
Be a voting block over here.
Jacob Reynolds, you are recommended again. You were in the primary and also in the general election for District Court Judge Department number 2-1. Moving right along, we have District Court Judge Department number 22. We have Susan Holland Johnson, and we have Ben Nadig. Jim Jonas, you have this.
All right, so I just want to first start off by when I was doing my research, I just want to make this very clear, and this should be pretty brief based on the background of these two individuals. First off, Judge Johnson is the sitting judge for Department number 22. And I also want to make it clear that Department 22, the only cases that are heard in Department 22 are civil and construction defects. So I think it's very important that whoever is the presiding judge in this department understands those two types of law. Judge Johnson was originally elected in 2007. She's been on the bench since 2007, obviously, to the present. In 2006, she defeated Ron Israel with 54.8% of the vote. And then in 2014, she ran again for re-election and won. In the primary, she beat out Bruce Gale and Jacob Hafner. And then in the general, she went head-to-head with Jacob Hafner and won with 75.2% of the vote. In 2013, she was given a 71% rating by attorneys to retain her. The average that year to retain a sitting judge was 71%, so she met that threshold. In 82, she got her bachelor's degree from UNLV in accounting. In 1985, she graduated from Pacific Law School. From 84 to 92, she worked for Rawlings, Olson and Cannon. From 92 to 94, she worked for Piazza and Associates. And then from 94 to 06, she ran her own firm. Ben Nadig, thing I found interesting about him is he was a prosecutor before going into private practice. He was a criminal deputy city attorney for Las Vegas. His trial experience is criminal prosecution, defense, and some civil defense and plaintiff litigation. He was ranked as one of the top 100 lawyers by My Vegas magazine and Rising Star by Super Lawyers. One of the things that I found interesting about him, besides the fact that 98% of all his experience is in criminal cases, and we are talking about a department that only sees civil and construction defects. So I think he might be out of his realm in this race. Also, here's the thing that I find interesting about him. So endorsements, SEIU, culinary workers, again, Nevada veterans. Veterans Association, which I don't remember us endorsing him. Women's Democratic Club, bartenders and beverage dispensers. Nothing against these organizations. But here's what I find interesting. I'll leave the Nevada Veterans Association alone for now. But everyone else, these organizations are very liberal. They're all Democrats. But he said he promises to leave partisanship out of the courtroom. Why would he have to make that promise?
Because he's partisan.
Exactly. So, based on all that, I see no reason not to recommend to retain Judge Johnson for this seat.
Okay, so I know both of these individual. First, we're going to start off with Susan Johnson. When I first met Susan Johnson, she was an attorney running for a district court seat, which is this seat. And the first time she ran, our organization endorsed her, and she was my best buddy. Okay? So, second time she ran, our organization endorsed Jacob Hafter, who was running against her, and now she's not my buddy anymore. We sent out a mass email that we normally do, and for the first time in 5 years, this was like several years ago, she says unsubscribe. And the reason for that is because we never endorsed her the second time against Jacob Hafter. So so that kind of pissed me off because I didn't know that the only reason why we were friends was based on an endorsement. So it sounds like Susan Johnson's a very hollow person in that respect, because I got people that don't agree with me on certain things, and I'm still friends with them, you know. And Johnson, you know I don't vote for an endorsement. What is wrong with you, Judge? You know I don't vote for an endorsement. But anyways, besides that, there was a couple complaints about Susan Johnson being on the bench, but there's complaints about all judges being on the bench. It depends on how severe it is and the nature of what they do. But that's all I have to complain about Susan Johnson. But Ben Nadig also came before us for endorsements prior, because he ran before, and I don't think we ever endorsed him on anything. But that's all I have on these two particular individuals, with the exception that Ben Nadig, you know that the Nevada Veterans Association endorsement that you have, we never gave it to you. Again, Jim Jonas and Steve Sanson owns the name and logo of Nevada Veterans Association. We didn't give it to you. Take it off your site. Okay? Take it down. We own it. You want to verify, go to Nevada Secretary of State website, select business, put Nevada Veterans Association in the search engine, and you shall see for yourself. We don't want to have to go and sue everybody. But anyways, so that's all I have with that. Friends, you got anything?
No, Steve, I mean, like you said, the only thing you have against her is that she unfollowed the endorsement. Neither candidate came to an endorsement, so, and he didn't get endorsed when he has came, so something in there lets us know that we didn't like what we saw.
Jonas? Madoff?
I just wanted to, Phillips.
Phillips, sorry.
That's all good. I wanted to say that I had some people, we're not getting too long-winded here, got the restraining order recently against Alex Gibato, the infamous Alex Gibato. And the attorney that represented Alex Gibato was none other than one Benjamin Nadig, and I wasn't impressed as an attorney. I came to court ready to cross-examine, ready to jump in the cage and actually, have an evidentiary hearing. But
I hate to cut you off, but yeah. I was there as well, and
yes.
and I believe that part of me is saying that he lied about the whereabouts of his client, because his client was not in the courtroom, and his client should have been, because it was a restraining order
Yes.
I mean, a judge, I mean, an attorney can't just come and represent their client without their client actually being in attendance. So he should have been there because he was supposed to have been served with the restraining order.
Yeah,
so that's why he needed to be there. But Benjamin Nadig tried to defend him,
and I thought that was
and I believe that he knew that maybe Gabato was. He said Gabato wasn't in the jurisdiction.
Was not in the jurisdiction.
Well, he wasn't in the
time,
courthouse and the courtroom, but I'm sure he was somewhere close by.
I don't know. My thought was also that he was Benjamin Nadig was trying to vicariously testify for Gabato, who has to be present. I was not impressed in any way, shape, or form with attorney skills. He was late and that kind of stuff, and I couldn't, in any kind of conscience, recommend him for a judgeship, and so I had to throw those 2 cents in.
Amato. Madoff. Okay, so let's take a vote. Ben Nadig. Susan Johnson. Okay, Judge Johnson, you're recommended by Veterans in Politics for District Court Judge Department number 22. Moving right along, District Court Judge Department number 23. We have Carl Armstrong and Jasmine Lily Spells, and just for full disclosure, in the primary roundtable we recommended Carl Armstrong. And Jonas, this is yours?
Yes. Okay, so first off, just let everybody know, Department 23 is an interesting department. So the current sitting judge, who obviously is vacating that seat, so this is an untested or an uncontested seat. I just have to throw this out here. I can't help myself. Might be why my stomach's bugging me tonight. The Honorable Judge Stephanie Miley is the one that currently sits in that seat, and she's vacating it. Thank goodness. Ironically enough, she's the first judge in town I met. But anyway, so Armstrong, we did recommend him. He's an appeals officer of the state of Nevada Department of Administrative Hearings. He's a commissioner of the Nevada Commission on Judicial Discipline. He does a lot of work with Easter Seals. He runs some stuff with them. He's also a part of the Black Law Students Association, Las Vegas State Bar Association, and Nevada Bar of Ethics panel. The only thing that kind of bugs me a little bit about this gentleman, and I do know he is recommended, is commission of the Nevada Commission on Judicial Discipline. I don't think they have a very good track record, so I'm not so sure I'm sold on that part of it. But then you have Jasmine Lily Spells. She graduated from Boyd Law in 2006. She passed the bar in Nevada and California. She's married. She has 4 kids. Her husband is a veteran. She's a public defender and court-appointed special advocate. And one of the things she tries to hang her hat on is that she believes in using new tactics to solve the root problems of why people commit crimes. And that's basically what I found on her.
Okay, for this particular department, Jasmine Lily Spells, I really don't know anything about her. But I did have the opportunity to sit in Carl Armstrong interview with the Judicial Selection Committee, and I think he did a very good job. And again, he would have to show all of his finances, his whole criminal record, fill out the vigorous application forms, and go through that panel, and he did do that. So that's all I have on him. Mr. Madoff?
No, he's a good man.
Mr. Madoff, could you use the microphone again for the 400th time?
Thank you.
It's like I got to spank him or something, you know?
Yeah, Carl Armstrong is a good man, and he's got my vote.
Mr. Amato. Mr. Phillips. Mr. Jonas.
Yeah, I'm not too thrilled with either one of them, but I do agree that I do think Armstrong is a good man, so I'm going to go with him. I'm just not too keen on administrative hearing judges, but out of the two, I definitely think Armstrong. I haven't seen anything that makes me want to change our recommendation.
Friends. Okay, let's take a vote. Jasmine Lily Spells. Carl Armstrong. Okay. Carl Armstrong, you're recommended again for Clark County District Court Judge Department 23. Good luck to you, sir. Moving right along, we got District Court Judge Department 24. We got Erica Ballou. And we have Dan Gillum. And this is also Mr. Jonas.
Okay, so Erica Ballou, I'm going to go ahead and start with her. Sort of thing, like anybody who knows me knows that I'm a very strong advocate of the First Amendment. So Erica Ballou, I want to say it was 2016. She actually had a very interesting situation in a courtroom. She came in the courtroom and she was an attorney and she had a Black Lives Matter pen on, and it wasn't Bureau of Land Management. And the judge in the case asked her to remove the pen. She did not
Who's the judge?
Want to... Herndon, yes. And so that was pretty interesting. At first, she said she wasn't going to, but then she decided she was going to go ahead and do it. There was a couple things that were kind of interesting in this case. Herndon said that the courtroom is not a public forum. So I found that...
Judge Herndon, just to let you know, in my Supreme Court case, unanimously, all the justices says that the courtroom, I'm going to say this again, the courtroom is of public interest. So if it's of public interest, it is of public forum. And let's go one more, because who pays for the court building? Taxpayers. Who pays for the judges' salaries? Taxpayers. Taxpayers pay for the staff. Taxpayers pay for the JA. Taxpayers pay for the marshal. Taxpayers pay the janitor. Taxpayers pay for everybody. Unless you yourself is coming out of pocket, then you can't say it's not a public forum. Go ahead, Mr. Jonas. I just wanted to emphasize what you just said.
Yeah, I wanted to say the same thing, but I figured somebody else would take that one. But I did find that pretty interesting because I didn't agree with that. Now, her opponent, Gillum, so just real quick to back up a second. So the sitting judge right now is Jim Crockett, but he's vacating his seat. So Gillum graduated from Ohio State in 96 with bachelor's in education and then obtained a master's in education. 2004 is where he got his Juris Doctorate. And then after that, from 05 to 07, he was a Clark County public defender. And then he spent 8 years as the assistant city attorney in Henderson. And then 2015, he founded Gillum Law Group, which then blended with Bighorn Law, which is a personal injury law firm. And actually what Gillum did is he actually took on the criminal cases. So they kind of expanded. And then he was recommended by the trial by his peers. In this one, if I had to endorse anybody, recommend, even though I do agree that the courtroom is, in a sense, a public forum. I do actually think that Erica Ballou, I would actually prefer if she ran for the legislature, because I see her more as an activist than somebody that should be sitting on on the bench, and I don't like activist judges. So I personally would like to recommend Gillum.
Isn't Erica Ballou sitting on the bench right now? Yeah, because could you take a look up to make sure? Because I could have swore I remember her being before the Nevada Judicial Selection Committee, because I make it a point to go and watch all those interviews when I can. Dan Gillum, I don't know anything about, and let's move it right along. We got Frank Friends. What do you got?
To me, it's real simple. If she's willing to come to the courtroom with a political statement such as Black Lives Matter and support the organization that is against the nuclear family and against values and is a Marxist organization, and be an activist in the courtroom, what is she willing to do with law and things that don't go to her Marxist views or her degradation of the nuclear family and her hatred for cops if she's part of that entire group?
Well, let me come in her defense and play devil's advocate with this one. In Judge Herndon's courtroom, you could wear the Fraternal Order of the Brotherhood, which is a Blue Lives Matter pin, and he doesn't say anything about that.
No, that needs to get out too.
So if you could wear if you could come in there with a pin, I understand what she's doing. She's standing up, and I don't blame her. It is. See, this is the problem here. A lot of lawyers don't want to stand up to judges at all because they're scared about their next case in front of the judge, and they don't want to be ostracized. They don't want to be put on that big blacklist. And then, judges talk, and then they tell their friends who's the other judge, and then all of a sudden you're blacklisted in there. So I give her props for her conviction if she wants to stand up. And if she wants to stand up and put a pin that says Black Lives Matter, so what? So what? It's just like anybody wants to put a Fraternal Order of the Brotherhood. So what?
I wouldn't like either one.
Too.
I wouldn't like either one.
It doesn't matter. I mean, I walk in there with Veterans in Politics shirt, and people could say the same thing.
Civilian.
But people could say an attorney is a civilian.
But
although she's getting a paycheck. Does she work? I mean, was she work with the PD's office?
We don't know what she's doing. If she's supporting a Marxist group, that tells you what her values are.
I think she was working with the PDs. I wouldn't say Black Lives Matter is from a Marxist group, but maybe she doesn't even know that. Maybe she's just standing up for the name alone. That black people need to be rising up. And it's about time that they stand up. And it's also about time attorneys stand up to corrupt judges. And it's also about time regular judges stand up to, good judges stand up against bad judges. And the same thing with bad cops and good cops. It's about time for everybody to stand up. That's the whole purpose of Veterans in Politics, is to be the voice of the voiceless. And if she comes out with a Black Lives Matter pin, so what?
But again, get him off the bench too.
Exactly.
That's the whole thing.
Mr. Phillips?
I had a lot I wanted to say about this. That back in 2016, as I think probably a lot of people know, I'm a huge aficionado of the First Amendment. And, I remember that whole thing. I've seen the videos with Erica Ballou and the exchanges with Judge Herndon. My feeling on whether she's an activist, I think she was an accidental activist. I don't think she was trying to make any statement about Black Lives Matter. I think she was just wearing a lapel pin, kind of like people do. It wasn't, I don't think, trying to make any overt political statement other than that which kind of comes with the words. And what had happened was, we also know that in Herndon's courtroom, other people had the Bernie pins feel the burn. And Herndon said nothing about that, and yet he would be picking on her.
And that one is political because that one is a presidential candidate.
It's absolutely political, yeah. And the thing is, we've heard a lot of issues. Is the courtroom a public forum under the First Amendment? I think absolutely yes, it is. I think that what Judge Herndon was concerned about was the decorum of lawyers, that she's working at the time, and it may be inappropriate and inconsistent with the rules of decorum to have that pin on. But
I would say yes to that. But look, if you tell one person to take it
Tell
off,
them all.
you need to tell them all
yes, I
to
think
take it
that
off.
shows disparate treatment.
Okay?
But I think also the pin, even if it were to violate in some fashion the rules of decorum, I think the violation is so minimally intrusive. You can't. I don't know how you even read from the bench how he could see the.
And I want to add something. Hate to cut
Yes.
you off, Mr.
It's all
Phillips.
good. It's all
I
good.
want to add something. Nobody is born blue.
Thank you.
True.
Okay,
True,
they born
true.
black,
It's a
white,
profession.
brown. That's the color.
Some other weird shades.
But nobody's born blue. Blue is a choice.
Profession.
Being black
Yes.
and being white and being brown is not a choice.
Very good point.
That's how you were born. Being a cop is a choice.
Yes.
Being in the military, they call it Green Lives Matter too. That's a choice. That's a choice. Okay? So we always gotta remember that Blue Lives Matter. Really? Blue Lives Matter is when you're wearing the blue uniform. But it's not a choice. Black Lives Matter, white lives matter, brown lives matter. Those are not choices at all. That's how God put you on this planet.
Yeah.
And it was funny because interesting you mentioned the blue lives. Judge Herndon in the interviews mentions Blue Lives Matter as being almost on par with the Black Lives Matter, but I don't think it really is because as you pointed out, it's one you're born into, another one is a voluntary choice. And so with that, I'm going to pass it to the.
Well, my big thing is just like if you're gonna wear either of those pins, if he kicks out one, he needs to kick out the other. But the whole Black Lives Matter thing is you don't wear something you don't understand the representation of. You don't wear a swastika, you don't wear red suspenders, you don't wear a Che Guevara shirt and expect somebody to think that you don't have those values.
But in all due respect, wearing a swastika is considered to be hateful. That means you hate all races except for the white. Okay, that's what swastikas mean. But Black Lives Matter don't mean you hate a race over another. That just means who you are, and it's about time people rise up against police brutality.
Oh, absolutely. But that's not what their mantra is. That's not what their motto is. That's not what their statement is. Their mission statement is to destroy the nuclear family. Doesn't matter, black, white, purple, green, doesn't matter. If you're going to wear that, you need to know that. If you wear a Che Guevara shirt and you tell me how you're all for these rights and that rights, he wasn't. So you don't know what you're talking about. So she's going to make a political statement, at least know what statement you're making.
But who says she doesn't know what statement she's making?
That's my problem. She either is backing that statement or she's not educated enough to know what statement she's backing. That's scary.
All right, Giano?
Yeah, so a good thing that Black Lives Matter got brought up, right? Because the bottom line is we're talking about people that are rising up, right? And they're basically saying, right, we're not fucking playing Jumanji. That's what's happening here, right? So, these police officers, remember, they were trained to kill, right? So you got to remember, they're only doing what they're trained to do.
Let me stop you right there, okay? Military is trained to kill, search and destroy. The police officer is supposed to be protect and serve.
But they're still trained. If somebody, touches their leg, they are to kill you, right?
No, they're shoot to stop the threat, not shoot to kill.
Well, okay, but I know when they keep shooting and they keep, making sure that person.
Those are called bad cops.
Yeah, bad cops. I'm sure there is a lot of good cops, right? But the bottom line is
92%, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know where you get them statistics, but I seriously doubt it.
Any department you want to look into, the Department of Justice has already.
Center of Disease Control?
They have the statistics of every single police shooting and every single thing that the police have to do.
Okay, so all I'm saying is, listen, we're not deer, right? We're not animals. right? So how the hell would minorities, especially the black people, have to say, hey, listen, please, I mean, think about it. What are they going to say? Hey, please quit killing us. Of course not, right? Is the shit that they're doing, you know, some of them are doing right? No. But is the shit that the police are doing, killing them, right? Fuck no, it isn't.
Okay, so you got more than 40% of all of these turning into violent cases from Black Lives Matter. You have less than 9 people being killed a year from the cops out of 3 million altercations. 9 out of 3 million. You can't even find a percentage for that off the top of your head. But I could tell you 30% of all Black Lives Matter protests end in violence, people's shit being burned down. And where are they burning it? Black Lives Matter. And a cop is 18.5 times more likely to be killed by a black person than they ever are to kill one. So if you're telling me that Black Lives Matter are telling you that we want to stop being killed, stop killing. You're doing it at 18.5 times higher rate than anybody else.
Okay. Now this thing, let me say one more thing. I don't believe they're a Marxist group. I think that Erykah Badu, to stand up, you know, and for what she believes in, I think made a very strong point, you know what I mean? And once again, right, we're not in Jumanji. And, you know, they are trained to kill, and they do have military equipment to make sure that they get the job done.
All right, Mr. Madoff.
Yeah, I just got a couple comments. Erykah Badu, she is a deputy public defender, so she works for the city. So obviously there has to be some sort of rules and controls about what she can wear or what he can wear or what have you. So I don't know. We don't know if she crossed the line or not, if that's any of their policies. Number 2, which is a surprising fact, Badu has raised no money and has no campaign expenses, according to her filing with the Secretary of State, which is shocking. Third of all, Dan Gilliam has raised $46,000 and he's got about $10,000 in hand. So she must be doing it somehow. You know, she's not spending any money on publicity or anything else like that. Yeah.
Okay. So let's take a vote on District Court Judge Department 24. Dan Gilliam, show of hands. 3. Oh. Erykah Badu? 2. Well, then it's Dan Gilliam. Dan Gilliam, you are, and by the way, you don't see me raising my hand because I don't vote. So, Dan Gilliam, District Court Judge, Department 24, recommended, moving right along. District Court Judge, Department 29, David M. Jones, and David Lopez Negretti, looks like. Huh?
This is me here. I also wanted to talk real quickly.
And this one goes to Matthew Phillips. Thanks for waiting. This one goes to Matthew Phillips.
I wanted to expound on the Voss doctrine, I guess, about putting caps on judgeships. Should there be a cap on what a judge can spend, rather a judicial candidate can spend in terms of how much they can spend on expenses? I think more importantly, should there be a cap on what attorneys can give to prospective judges? Because it really makes you wonder when you see a law firm like Hutchison and Steffen give money to a judge like a Vincent Ochoa, for example. Like, what are they trying to get for their money? What do they expect? Does the law firm expect that the judge will sign all of their orders, without any alterations, deletions, or amendments, and sign it with light speed turnaround time? What kind of favoritism do they get? What kind of favoritism do they expect? I think there needs to be a cap, and I wish Robert were here to go more over it, but it's something we had talked about, and I think it's an important thing that there are limitations on what the candidate can spend and also on how much attorneys can give or whether they should be able to give it at all. I think a strong argument can be made that practicing attorneys who are practicing before the court should not be able to give any money, and the judges defend the practice by saying it's legal. And to me, that doesn't carry any It's not a moral compass in any way, because we know that, I have said this many times before, but when the people that had hid Anne Frank, or Anne Frank, that hid her in the upstairs closet, they were the ones that were violating the law. And the people who ultimately put Anne Frank to death in the concentration camp, they were following the law. So just because you're following the law is no moral compass. And to me, the idea of attorneys practicing before the bench and contributing money is just insanely creating an appearance of bias, an appearance of impropriety. And I could wax philosophic and I could pontificate for hours on this topic because I'm strongly against it. But moving right along to Mr. Jones, he has quite a lot of experience. He was a partner at the firm of LBBS, Lewis, Brisbard, Bisgard, and Smith in Las Vegas. He's a court-appointed mediator and arbitrator, and working as a family court truancy diversion judge. He has, again, a lot of experience and a lot of what look like impressive credentials, but there's no Ballotpedia survey, and that's always kind of interesting. He had practiced law entirely in state of Nevada. He's tried dozens of highly complex cases, personal injury cases, medical malpractice, premises liability, and he was also counsel in the biker shooting cases in Laughlin, Nevada. I don't know if that involves the Hells Angels and the Mongols Motorcycle Club, so it makes him kind of a badass, or how it makes him appear, but for what it is, he was counsel in those cases. He has a lot of impressive endorsements, and I could read the list and bore everyone to rages of tears here, but bartenders union looks like Clark County Deputy Marshals, Clark County Firefighters, Clark County Park Police, culinary workers, Henderson firefighters, Henderson Police, International Alliance of this and that, Las Vegas Peace Officer Supervision Association, Las Vegas, I mean, there's quite a list of Nevada AFL-CIO, dun, 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 the Las Vegas Review-Journal, the Nevada Republican Club, and at some point, you got to wonder, with all these endorsements, and the reason I could regale the whole list again, but the opponent, Mr. Lopez Negrete Torres, has no endorsements of any kind whatsoever. And then I think, how can it be that one guy is securing all these endorsements and the other guy, the opponent, has no endorsements? Neither of them did the Ballotpedia survey. Now, Mr. Lopez Negrete Torres is a trial attorney at the Clark County Public Defender's Office. But in looking at this race, you got to wonder, what is it? What's going on here? And I had to resort to the Nevada Secretary of State's office, where it was revealed that David Jones has hired the infamous David V. Thomas to be, I don't know, campaign manager, political consultant. Again, how do you have political consultants in non-political races? I just wanted to dramatically emphasize that for the camera. But this is an institutional thing where you have to wonder, is David Jones going to this guy, David V. Thomas, cue the scary music here, is there some kind of influence that's being bought or sold or peddled? I mean,
you're doing so well.
I'm wondering. I'm just asking the question. I don't know, but everyone has all of these endorsements. The other one has none, and so I'm inclined to want to be on the side of Mr. Torres. I'm not sure which surname he prefers, but this looks like an institutionalized type of, person who would be a judge, and I think that they would be of the same ilk, God forbid, as a Vincent Ochoa, because after all, they have the same close and substantial ties to this guy, David V. Thomas, and I find that a little troubling.
Well, just for the record, if you hire David V. Thomas, all the unions go with him.
How is that? How does that happen?
He has some type of influence with all the unions. So it's not that if you're a good candidate or a bad candidate, is that Thomas influenced the unions to endorse you. So that's how that works.
So do the Vincent Ochoas of the world,
We're not on there. We're on Jones.
or okay, do the
and
David Joneses
Lopez.
of the world, do the David Joneses of the world come to David V. Thomas with the specific expectation that he will facilitate these endorsements?
Yes, some of them do, not all.
How does that work? I wanna know.
I don't want to. I don't look here.
Yes, yes.
I want to get out of here.
And my endorsement on this one, recommendation rather, is with Mr. Lopez Negrete Torres.
Okay, let me just say about this particular race, district court judge. You know, Erica Ballou, that name did resonate in the last race, and that's why I thought that it was, but I wasn't sure if we
She was with the
if she
PD,
was
yeah.
the judicial selection committee. But I know in this race, department number 29, David Jones was in front of the Nevada Judicial Selection Committee, and I was in attendance when he was interviewing, and I've met him a couple of other places as well in the community. He's the incumbent. Right now, he's appointed to that seat as, well, did he? I'm not even, I think that he got elected because he filled out a remaining of a past judge's tour of duty, so to speak, and then he got elected to that seat. I think that's what happened with Judge Jones. But I know nothing about David Lopez Negrete, nothing at all. Frank?
No.
Amato?
No.
Should we wait for Jim? No. All right, let's take a vote. David Lopez Negrete? David Jones. Okay. Judge Jones, you're recommended by the Veterans in Politics, District Court Judge, Department number 29. Moving right along, District Court Judge, Department number 31, we have Gary Call and Judge Joanna Kishner.
Now, in this
Philip.
one, starting with Gary Call, well, he's actually an insurance defense type attorney, the one that's going to defend, for the insurance companies, malpractice claims and things like that, and personal injury and negligence. He works with the Resnick Lewis law firm. He has about 25 years of experience, and what's interesting, I did check the C&E reports, kind of on a lark, just for something different.
Of course you did.
And I thought it curious that the world famous Randall Tyndall had spent $500. And for all the viewers at home who are wondering who Randall Tyndall is, that's the guy.
Who's not on the ballot.
He's
in
not on the
this
ballot.
general election.
He's the guy that claimed that he was bribed by David V. Thomas. Back in 2014, there was an article in the paper before, this actually predates Sheldon Adelson's taking control of the paper. Just to give you some of the highlights in the survey here, actually Gary Call was very upfront, and I just want to read a couple things here. I'll try to be real brief. What inspired him to run? He says he has over 20 years of experience in civil litigation in Clark County. I firmly believe a judge must be non-biased and mete out rulings fairly, no matter the person or entity appearing before the judge. Moreover, a judge, while providing impartial rulings according to the law, should be cognizant of the community resources used in the court system. I think it's a good answer. Not sure what he's trying to say, really. There may be a lack of passion here. In some of the responses, what are his views on Roe versus Wade? The response is, Roe versus Wade is the law. It's like, okay, add that in a quarter, it'll get you a cup of coffee, I suppose. Again, not a lot of passion in these responses here. On the whole human dignity thing, in U.S. versus Windsor, I'll read his response here. Permitting same-sex marriages provides our fellow citizens equal dignity amongst all of us. As a person with family members that have enjoyed the benefits of being able to marry, I am heartened to see our society recognize everyone's worth as a human being. It sounds like a very political type of thing. Not a lot of passion here. Again, he answered all the questions, but give you some more of the highlights. There's this question, if he were a judge, would he honor the request of a litigant, a plaintiff or defendant, or a witness who is transgender to be referred to in that gender, that pronoun, whatever that may be? And he said yes. And there's nothing else along with that. That's a loaded question for a lot of reasons. I don't see a lot of stigma to that or a problem with a judge doing that. He was asked about the Newman case and the application of whether LGBTQ, if I'm saying that acronym correctly, whether they should be accorded all the non-discrimination protections when they go to places of public accommodations. Should they be treated equally? Well, he recognized that that case permitted recovery of attorney's fees in civil rights lawsuits. And, I think that that's a good answer. I think that all folks should be able to recover under the law when they're receiving disparate treatment in places of public accommodations. There's some other ones here. What do you think is the most important issue in our justice system today? He says, quote, I think we need to explore a different manner of appointing and electing judges. Now, I kind of like that too. When I saw that, I kind of had that Pavlovian response of salivating just a little bit, thinking this is going to get good. But he never delivered by telling us a different manner of how to appoint and elect judges. You know what I think they ought to do is anybody can be in any race they want, but they should limit all races. This is my personal opinion, and I think we should consider this.
Could we stick to the topic?
Yes, I think that they have to do this by whoever comes in, when no more than 2 people in a race. None of this 4 and 5 people in a race.
Could we stick to the topic?
But he didn't give what he thought would be a good idea. When asked about the cash bail system, he responded, it's a more fair system. I can take it what it is. And how about the idea of legalizing, well, now that Nevada has legalized marijuana, pot, of course, is legal in Nevada. What is your position on vacating convictions, criminal convictions of those individuals for marijuana possession? His response was, it's an idea that should be explored by our legislature. So I don't know if he's down with that or not, or if he opposes it. He did really not committal.
He's probably not, because when they did the pot, it was a crime at the time.
I mean, there's just not a lot. I want to see more passion for someone who's going to be on the bench and someone.
Did you talk about Joanna Kishner yet?
No, not yet. She was elected in 2011 and 2015, and she has some rather really impressive credentials here. She's been practicing law for over 20 years. I could read this here and bore everybody, but really impressive. She attended Claremont and McKenna College. While at CMC, she also worked for the Claremont Graduate School Autism Clinic, which I thought was interesting. I always respect those folks who are, helping out disabled, especially those folks who are victims of autism, which I believe firmly is vaccine-induced injury. In addition, speaking about Joanna Kishner here, if I'm saying her name right, she was the managing editor at the Federal Communications Law School, the 3rd-year editor of the UCLA Law School Yearbook. Again, a lot of impressive credentials. And when I happened to look at the, just on a lark, the contribution and expense reports, it seems that she is working with Tom Letizia. I'm not sure what inference to be drawn by that here, but there's on balance, I'm not really sure which of these candidates really, none of them really grabs me. I wouldn't say this is a lesser.
You just said Kishner had impressive credentials. That doesn't grab you?
I think that, but will they make a good judge? It's kind of a loaded question.
She's been sitting on the bench. Do you have something that says otherwise? She's been on the bench for a lot of years now. Because I've known her before she was a judge.
Yes.
I've known her for a lot of years, and I haven't heard any bad thing about her. It's just she has a track record. Do you have anything negative on her?
No, it doesn't. That's why I say.
So it should be an easy call then, right?
Well, almost. The thing is, I don't know if it's a lesser of 2 evils situation, because I don't think.
How is that evil? You have nothing bad on her.
I don't think either one is. That's my point. I'm just not really wowed by either candidate. But on balance, I don't know. I really respect.
Excuse me, Mr. Phillips.
Yes,
you just said that she has an impressive credential, and you're not wowed by it?
Well, because I'm not sure if it'll necessarily make for like a dynamic judge.
She's been on the judge for all these years, at least what, two terms now?
In 2011 and 2000.
Yeah, and you say you have nothing negative about her, and you still can't make up your mind? That's like falling in a pothole and said, "Oh my God, I stumped my toe."
Well, the thing is, you
want me to summarize it for you real quick? We got a judge that you have nothing negative on, and we have another judge who's going against that judge who stated that in law they're willing to let people commit perjury in the courtroom. There's your 2 options.
Okay.
Yes.
Sounds like fun. Are you done, Mr. Phillips?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Johnny, you got anything? No. Jim, you got anything?
No, I'm good.
Frank, you got anything?
I'm good.
Okay, let's take a vote. Gary Call, District Court Judge, Department number 31. The show of hands. No. Judge Joanna Kishner, show of hands. Okay, so Judge Joanna Kishner is recommended. And by the way, Judge Joanna Kishner was endorsed a while back when she was running before 2020. So Judge Joanna Kishner, District Court Judge, Department number 31. Our final District Court Judge seat. Thank you, live stream, for hosting us, Facebook. District Court Judge, Department 32, Rob Baer and Christy Craig. Go ahead, Mr. Phillips.
And we're ready here. This is Rob Baer again versus Christy Craig. Neither of them filled out the Ballotpedia survey right there, so I thought that was interesting. Now, of course, Rob Baer is the incumbent. What's interesting about this is that he had an 80% rating on the judges thing, and that 80% rating back in 2013 slipped down to 67% in 2019. That I thought was interesting. Now, Judge Baer's got a lot of, I want to say, unfavorable press here. Some of these headlines where it says, District Judge Rob Baer ignores clear language of the state constitution. Without delving too far into this, there's been several situations, quote, so even though the state constitution says that any bill increasing state revenue in any form must be enacted by a 2/3 majority, Judge Baer has unilaterally rewritten that mandate to his liking. I think there are some issues. I don't know if it's a thing. I don't want to presuppose it may be arrogance, but I think some of these judges wanting to rewrite and interpret the Constitution or ignore it, I have some concerns with that because there are several issues here about how he is ignoring the Constitution. He was slammed for unethical campaigning. This article came up too. An ethics panel finds fault with the Magnificent 11 fundraiser. This was an article from about 10 years ago. I guess it was October of 2010, and it was critical about some campaigning practices that included, among others, Ron Israel, Rob Baer, Nancy Alf, of course, who was the wife of David V. Thomas, and of course the infamous Vincent Ochoa.
The gang's all back.
The gang's all here. And so with Rob Baer, again, if you go to the Secretary of State website, there's a close and substantial connection with this guy, David V. Thomas. Now, on the other hand, I want to talk about Christy Craig for a moment. She's been 22 years Clark County Public Defender, and I think she has some really very, very credible credentials. Without going all over those in detail, I've been doing a lot of these ambush phone calling. Yeah, I've called it ambush phone call, where you catch the candidate and ask them some hard questions. I do want to say that I wholeheartedly support Christy Craig. And the reason is because I had got her on a cold call and I talked to her. It must have been 45 minutes we talked on the phone. And I asked her every question in a cross-examination format, and what do you think about this, and what would you do, and if you were a judge, what would this happen? And I can honestly say, of all the candidates I've talked to, I've never seen a candidate that were more sincere and more above board and complete and straightforward in her responses. And I was impressed by that. And most of all, she had talked to me for all this time on the phone, and it was only at the end of the call when she said to me, by the way, what's your name? She didn't know who I was. And I said, well, give her my name. And she was just really, the point being that she was totally cool with explaining who she was. And she was totally okay with putting it. And I found that impressive because so often when I call a candidate, they say, okay, who are you? And I say, well, the name is so-and-so.
That'll be my first question.
And it's like, they hang up like within like 3.7 seconds when they hear the name, it's like click. And she was courteous and she was willing.
At least you have
talk.
A following.
Yeah, right. Yes. Yeah, I guess my reputation must precede me in some fashion, but I really want to say I respect Christy Craig for being so forthcoming. And I think her responses would be the same regardless of the environment or regardless of the context. And so she wholeheartedly has my support.
Okay. Well, I don't know about Christy Craig, but I do know about Rob Baer. Judge Baer appeared before us twice. When he appeared, the first time he received our endorsement. The second time he appeared, he was by himself. His opponent didn't appear with him at our endorsement interview, and he had a copy of our endorsement from the prior time, and he showed everybody that he had a copy of the endorsement and that we endorsed him once before. Therefore, we should automatically endorse him again. And the panel member at the time, I don't remember who was on there, I forget. I had to go back and look at the video on our YouTube channel, Veterans in Politics. And they thought that he was very arrogant by doing that. So they choose to go with no endorsement from nobody. And thank you for your service, Judge Baer. He's also served in the Army. And I believe he was a JAG in the Army. I'm not positive, but I do know he served in the Army. So, but that's all I have on those two candidates. Amato, Jonas,
I'm good.
Friends. Okay, let's take a vote. All in favor of Christy Craig for Department 32. Judge Baer, they didn't even recommend you. So, wow. A lot of interesting stuff going on today. Christy Craig, you are recommended for Clark County District Court Judge, Department number 32. Congratulations. Folks, I just want everybody to know that we hope that you share these videos and take a look at them, and just be educated when you either go to the voting booth or mail in your ballot. And we're trying to educate people, because the worst thing you want is corrupt, stupid, biased individuals on the bench that is going to be controlling your life. And this is a civil criminal bench, by the way. This bench is very important, although you have appeals, and there's automatic appeals that happen in the civil and criminal court bench that you don't have in family court. And judges are not supposed to use their discretion like they do in family court. They don't do that in civil criminal. But I just want you to pay attention to this, because we've been here for 3 hours talking about these judges, and we just hope that you take something back from it. You don't have to go with our recommendations, but we just want you to be educated and put people on the bench that's going to be the betterment of the citizens, because these judges could lock your ass up for a very long time. These judges could make you lose your house, take your business away. Take. If you think that you were going to get insurance money, they could just deny that. No, this is civil criminal, brother. This is not family. All right, Mr. Lawyer. So I just want you to pay attention to these judges, and they affect your life immediately. But you know what? With that said, I just want to go over this and make sure that all the recommendations are correct. District Court Judge Department 1, we have recommended Beta Marie Yeager. District Court Judge Department 2, we have endorsed Richard Frank Scotty. District Court Judge Department 3, we have recommended Monica Trejo. District Court Judge Department 4, we have recommended Nadia Kroll. District Court Judge Department 5, we have recommended Terry Coffin. District Court Judge Department 6, we have recommended Jacqueline Bluth. District Court Judge Department 8, we have recommended Trevor Atkin. District Court Judge Department 17, we have recommended Michael Villani. District Court Judge Department 18, we have recommended Mary Kay Holthus. District Court Judge, Department 19, we have recommended William Bill Kephart. You see how flowing I am when I got my glasses on? District Court Judge, Department 20, we have recommended Dawn Alisa Hooker. District Court Judge, Department 21, we have recommended Jacob Reynolds. District Court Judge, Department 22, we have recommended Susan Holland Johnson. District Court Judge, Department 23, we have recommended Carl W. Armstrong. District Court Judge, Department 24, we have recommended Dan Gillum. District Court Judge, Department 29, we have recommended David M. Jones. District Court Judge, Department 31, we have recommended Joanna Kishner. District Court Judge, Department 32, we have recommended Christy Craig. And folks, I just want you to pay attention to this. All those other endorsements that they read off are bought, or they only endorse incumbents, or there's some type of bias. You're not going to see this open transparency with any of those other endorsements. You are not going to see it. So you need to ask yourself something. How did they get it? Was it a friend of a friend? Was it bought? Was it purchased? Was there a promise? Was there something? Is one of these people before that judge and they want to endorse him just to get a favorable ruling? It's always something. Veterans in Politics is the only, and I say again, Veterans in Politics is the only organization in the state of Nevada that gives you this type of transparency. And if you go to our YouTube channel, it's all on there, okay? We have talked about the candidates. We have put the information that we have at our disposal, and we have released that information to you, the general public, for you to make a educated decision when you go to the booth. And I want to thank all you gentlemen for being here. I really appreciate you taking your time out. This is Steve Sanson. This is Frank Friends, Jim Jonas, T. Matthew Phillips, and Gianno Amato. And we had Robert Foss and Robert Madoff, who left early because it's past their bedtime. And it's past our bedtime too. We just hope that you do your homework and just put good people in office. That's all we ask. All we ask, when you vote, you know what you're voting for. Don't take your friend's advice. Just educate yourself, or take our advice, because we know what we're talking about. Have a good night, and see you at the voting booth.